Studios in New York with Jay Williams today has changed the NBA forever, and we've been robbed of one of our greats, and it's hard to process, Jay. And since we came into the studios today, I know you've had an emotional reaction when it comes to loss. It's difficult and complex, but what are you feeling right now?
You know, I know people naturally go into this place of the accolades that he's been able to achieve and the scoring titles and Mamba mentality, but he was a human being, and he was a father, he was a husband, and I think overall, Cass, this man had such a spirit about him because he had an insatiable appetite and the relentless pursuit of excellence in everything he did. And, you know, I won't remember the countless buckets he gave people. I'll remember the visuals of him sitting next to his daughter, showing his daughter the game of basketball, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I have a daughter. I think about what that moment's gonna be for me with my daughter, and him and his wife fighting through things and still being there in the public and standing strong. And the legacy that he's left, it's just not about basketball. It's about the entity of who Kobe Bryant is and his aura and his persona as a person. And
when you lose someone so suddenly and so inexplicably, it's difficult to really even establish a baseline for your emotions here. Just quickly, when you think of what he meant to just the NBA world and family, is there any way to sum it up?
Who is a better mentor than somebody that wanted to rip your heart out every single time? But then in the same breath, like last night, I was with Rachel and Jalen. We were calling the game. To see the tweet go up like that, a lot of other players may not want to give credit to a guy like LeBron James. And he, right away, he's gracious in that too. And I know it was just, Cass, it was the way he went about everything he did. Playing for Coach K, and K had great stories about Kobe, there's certain people that when you're around, you just feel it. I can't describe him with words. It's with the feeling that you have when you're in his presence that it made you want to be different and not just be the norm.
There's so much being felt right now across the NBA world for continuing coverage on Kobe Bryant's death. SportsCenter with Michael Eaves and Zubin Mehenti is on ESPN2 in the second half of the Pro Bowl with Joe Tessitore and Booker McFarland after the break.
Cassidy, thank you so much. Again, we continue following the breaking news on the death of Kobe Bryant shortly after 10 a.m. local time in Calabasas. I've said this a few times before, and I just want to say it again because it captures the man beyond a basketball player. A father of four, one of his daughters on board, a husband, proud to be a father of four, an NBA legend that goes without saying, and an Academy Award winner, all accomplished at the age of 41. He told our Ramona Shelburne when he turned 40 and left basketball, I'm just getting started. This is the next phase of my life. And every guest we had seemed to indicate whatever he wanted to accomplish, he would be able to accomplish. And sadly, all of that was cut short this morning.
It was also about pushing the game forward. He said that recently in terms of the game of basketball. Now that he's no longer a player, there are other ways to do that. And that's the effect that he's having on younger players. We see in the NBA, the WNBA, but also going to the college ranks as well. Sabrina Ionescu from Oregon playing today, and this is video from her game before Oregon State today. Clearly she's affected, and Kobe Bryant spent a lot of time with her over the last couple of years. In fact, before the game, her father told ESPN that of all the times that you've worked with him, of all the people, of all the phone calls, you deserve to play for him and his legacy. Go out and do it today. Go out and play for Kobe. Easier said than done sometimes based on how the emotion may impact you. Again, for those of us who spent time around Kobe Bryant, this is a tough day, but we're still trying to do our jobs, and that includes Stephen A. Smith, who's known Kobe Bryant for quite some time, going back to the days when Stephen was a columnist there in Philadelphia, when Kobe was a star coming out of Lower Merion High School. Stephen A., how are you processing this information right now, brother?
It's just devastating. Obviously, I found out a few minutes after the reports came out, and it's a guy I've known for his entire career, and I've known him pretty well, and we've talked a lot, and throughout the years, and knowing what a winner he was, not just on the basketball court, but off of it, how inspirational he was, how motivational he was in terms of really helping to instill in other people, just the tenacity and the focus on being all that you could be, never taking any shortcuts, a willingness to put in the work, to rip yourself and shred yourself of the excuses of the things that hold you back from achieving the things that you aspire to achieve. It wasn't just about basketball with him, it was about life. And that Mamba mentality wasn't something that was reserved for just basketball players or for just athletes. It was for any human being out there who had a dream, who felt the need to be inspired about something, who wanted something so badly. It was about going out and getting it. And he was just that kind of guy. And he laughed a lot more than people realized. He told a lot of jokes more than people realized. He'd sting you whenever he could because that was his way. He was a guy that he was a great basketball player. He was a great father. He loved his wife, and that's obviously tremendously. He was a great friend. We were just together on New Year's Eve, and we were supposed to meet again in a few weeks to discuss some things, and to just hear the news that he passed away, particularly in this fashion. He's been taking a helicopter for decades, living in Newport Beach, and flying toward downtown to LA to the Staples Center, to and from games all the time for many, many years. He loved being in that helicopter. He certainly was never really concerned about it. And for him to be gone, particularly through these means, is incredibly tragic, and it's sad. And to know that his daughter was on a helicopter with him, it just resonated even that much more profoundly. So obviously it's incredibly sad for me, incredibly sad for the NBA community, and it's just hard to put it in words, to be quite honest with you. That's the best I can do.
Stephen A., Kobe Bryant's been a public figure for more than 2 decades, as you mentioned. I mean, he took Brandy to high school prom, right? I mean, who got to do that? But Kobe Bryant did that. Then he comes into the NBA with the bravado of a 10-year veteran, even if he didn't have the skills at that time to match it. But then 5 NBA championships, an MVP, 2 gold medals at the Olympics. We've seen Kobe Bryant for quite some time. And from a fan standpoint, if you will, we feel like we do know who Kobe Bryant is, the relentless competitor, the never give up attitude. You mentioned some of the off-court things, his sense of humor. What is it about Kobe Bryant, Stephen A., that most people, frankly, don't know?
Well, I would tell you that, again, I use the word motivational because I think that a lot of times when people look at him and they take some of the words and some of the things that he spewed, they try to attach it to athletics, but he wasn't about that. He was about life. When I spoke at the University of Alabama for Nick Saban last year, Kobe had spoken prior to that, I think a year earlier than that. Anywhere he could go to inspire people to be the best that they can be, that was something that he wanted to do. He didn't want to just do it through his words, however. He wanted to continue to do it through his own work, to show that basketball was just one element of what he was all about. It certainly didn't limit him in any way. He spoke several languages fluently, obviously Italian, Spanish, and of course English. I mean, this guy was highly intellectual. He was a brilliant mind, and he was not shy about letting you know that he was brilliant because he never believed he was. He was on a mission to constantly elevate himself intellectually. That's just the temperament that he had. But he also wanted to be inspirational in that regard. I remember years ago when I had the show, quite frankly, on ESPN2, and people used to talk about me, interviewing people, and they used to bring up folks like Oprah and others. He used to say, damn all of that, not Oprah, Harpo. That was his mentality. Don't think about just being in front of the camera. Think about owning the product. Think about something bigger than what you're thinking about constantly. It's not just about being a reporter. It's about being an author. It's not just about being a basketball player. It's about being a champion. It's not just about being an artist. It's about being an Academy Award winner. These are all things that he had visions of, and it was consistent with who he was from the time that you knew him. Because coming into the NBA, one of the things that had turned others off about him initially, he came into the league talking about how he was going to be as great, if not greater, than Michael Jordan one day. And people used to look at him and say, this dude is off of his rocker. His chest is sticking out just a little bit too much. He needs perspective. And then sure enough, when you watched him work and you saw the commitment that he put in, you realized he wasn't playing. He was dead serious. He would win championships. He would take a week or two off and then show back up a week or two later and start working in the summertime at 5:30 in the morning. This is what he did religiously. When other people were taking vacations, he was studying. When other people were taking breaks, he was working out. That was his entire mentality about anything and everything. And if you were going to be around him and you talked about aspiring to do something, one of the biggest things he would question you about was the work that you were putting in. He would probe, he would interrogate, because he wanted to make sure that you were doing what you said that you wanted to do, that you were, if you were truly aspiring to go after what you were aspiring to go after, he wanted to judge what you were doing for yourself to see how seriously he could take that you really meant what you said about really, really going for it. That was his mentality all of the time. And he was that way with teammates. He was that way with executives. He was that way with league officials. He was that way with contemporaries. He certainly was that way with me, along with a bevy of other people that he called friends or called one of his boys or whatever the case may be. That was his mentality. And all of that shaped Black Mamba, the Mamba mentality. You either had to adjust to the program or you didn't want to be around him because he wasn't going to change, because he knew he was right and you were probably wrong if you were against him.
Yeah, that work ethic was notorious for Kobe Bryant. I mean, he would show up to games or before practice, sometimes before shoot around, after going through a full workout and have to go change it to dry clothes just so he could get ready for the practice or the shoot around before the game that night. That's how committed Kobe Bryant was. Steve, stand by, because we're getting more and more reaction from around the league on the death of Kobe Bryant in a helicopter crash outside of Los Angeles around 10 a.m. this morning there in L.A. Alvin Gentry and the Pelicans have a game coming up later this evening. He was asked to give his thoughts on Kobe passing away at the age of 41.
I mean, no words, really. I mean, I don't know where you could even start. I mean, great competitor, great guy, great father. Just really, really a sad day for the NBA. Obviously, thoughts and prayers go with his family, go with the whole Laker organization, really, And, I mean, they've lost, one of the greatest players, but also a guy that's just, his name is synonymous with that franchise. So, it's just a tough day, to hear of his passing and, one of his daughters, it's just a real tragic thing.
Stephen A. Smith still with us here on SportsCenter. Alvin Gentry brought up a good point. Kobe wasn't just a marquee player, Stephen A. He also played for a marquee franchise, and that combination is so much a part of Kobe's legacy as well, because you played for an organization that had Elgin Baylor, had Jerry West, had Magic Johnson, had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, had Shaquille O'Neal. With all of that together, how would you describe what Kobe's legacy will be within the game itself?
Well, he's arguably the greatest Laker of all time. People have brought up Magic Johnson. They bring up him. It's one of the two. Obviously, you appreciate the greatness of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the all-time leading scorer in NBA history, 19-time All-Star, one of the greatest centers. But he was originally in Milwaukee before he came to L.A. Magic Johnson pretty much played his whole career in a Los Angeles Laker uniform. Kobe Bryant played all 20 years of his career in a Los Angeles Laker uniform. You ask Kobe who was the greatest Laker, he'll tell you Magic. You ask Magic who was the greatest Laker of all time, he'll tell you Kobe. Just that level of respect. He's in that conversation when you consider all the great ones that have donned a Los Angeles Laker uniform. And you also have to take into account the love that he had for the Lakers. Yeah, there was some rough times after the departure of Shaquille O'Neal, and then they struggled for a couple of years. And obviously, Kobe Bryant was incredibly frustrated. Came on my radio show back in 2007, if I remember correctly, and talked about how he'd rather play on the planet Pluto than stay in a Los Angeles Laker uniform. That's the only time in the 20-year career of Kobe Bryant that he had ever spoken against being a Laker, because he was so disgruntled and disheartened by what was transpiring. Then all of a sudden they pull off a trade. They end up moving Kwame Brown and others out. They acquired Pau Gasol. They go to 3 straight NBA finals. They win back-to-back titles in 2009, 2010, and all that noise had dissipated. If there was ever a time that he was going to leave, whether it would be to be a Clipper or to be a Chicago Bull, it was going to be during that one period of time that he was upset with what was transpiring with the Los Angeles Lakers. But that was the only time that it was ever an option for him to be anything other than a Laker. He loved the purple and gold. He loved representing Laker Nation, and he loved living up to the tradition of excellence that the Los Angeles Lakers had put forth as one of the storied franchises in the history of sports. He took pride in that. He took pride in being a marquee. He took pride in being the headliner and showing up to city, state to state, and basically highlighting for everybody that he wasn't just a superstar basketball player. He was a marquee who was willing to accept the responsibility that came along with being a marquee. That means putting in the work, accepting the challenge, embracing the challenges that came along with being that dude. That's what he wanted. That's what he lived for. And that's how he went about the business of performing every single day of his career.
Yeah, Kobe and the Lakers, it's hard to separate the two of them in the city of Los Angeles as well, mourning, obviously, the loss of Kobe Bryant. Stephen A. Smith sharing his thoughts and perspectives here. More from Stephen A. throughout the evening here on SportsCenter.
And Michael, it's not just Twitter reaction. This is Neymar scoring his second goal of the night. And then check this out. After it trickles in, flashing up the 2-4, the 24, which Kobe made iconic. He had, of course, trained with Neymar in Paris Saint-Germain. Kobe, much more than just a basketball player, and Neymar, among the greatest in soccer, memorializing and remembering one of the greats in basketball. The San Antonio Spurs were taking on the Toronto Raptors today. And because Kobe wore number 24, Michael, how poignant is this? Obviously, the NBA shot clock at 24 seconds, and the Spurs deciding to run it out, letting it go to zeros to commemorate a guy who had many great duels with the San Antonio Spurs. Leave it to Greg Popovich and a classy organization like the Spurs to run that shot clock out in remembrance of Kobe Bryant, who died today at the age of 41. Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna, one of 5 people dead in the crash. He is survived by his wife, Vanessa. He's got 3 other daughters, Bianca Bella, Natalia Diamante, and Capri Kobe, and they will carry on the Kobe legacy. We continue our coverage now with Gary Payton. Gary did share a season with Kobe in Los Angeles in 2003, 2004, one of the great players in NBA history, and it's a pleasure to have him here on SportsCenter tonight to reflect and offer a little bit of perspective. Gary, we basically asked the same question to every single guest because it seems the right one to ask. What was your reaction when you heard the news?
I just landed in Atlanta, and it was just so shocking. That was my young fella. And it was crazy that I can just sit here now and just be in shock because, that's my brother. That was my brother. And I'm walking into the hotel and everybody blowing me up and they're telling me this and asking me, is it true? And I get the word and I find out from a good source and find out it is. And it's just really, really shocking right now.
How would you describe the impact Kobe Bryant had on you? I know you said he was the young buck, you were the old guy, but what kind of effect did he have on you?
When I was with him in that 1 year in L.A., we got really close. I was the one with him all the time, and we got to share a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff when he was going through the stuff that he was going through in that time, and he opened up to me a lot, and talked, and we got to be close and find out what his mindset was really about, and that's why he became like a little brother to me, and after that, he became real close with my kids and stuff like that, and it was just amazing to see what kind of guy he was. Just because what everybody was saying about him and things like that, I had to find out by myself what was really going on, and I found out what was really in his heart, and not just being a competitor, just being a guy that just wanted to be accepted and let everybody understand what kind of person he really was.
Gary, Michael Eaves here. I was in Los Angeles covering the team that year that you joined them, along with Karl Malone. It was a chance to get back to the NBA Finals. You did, but you ended up losing to the Detroit Pistons. But prior to coming to the Lakers, you had some pretty good battles with Kobe Bryant on the court. And then the season you joined him, you mentioned how tumultuous that season was, a lot of strife in and around that locker room, but still coming together for that common goal to reach the NBA Finals. What was it like playing against Kobe versus being Kobe's teammate?
Well, playing against him, it was very competitive. I just like it. Everybody always remember the time where we were sitting there and he asked me at the All-Star break, how can he play defense and how can he become a all-defensive player? And we sat at the half court and we did it, and people were really shocked about why he was out there asking me and how he was listening and how he was acting, how he was just listening to it and wanted to get all the info from me. And then after that, he became a first team all defense, and then he competed against us, but he competed, and I liked it because he was always there. He was always competing against you. He was always a hard-nosed guy. He always wanted to find something different about it. I posted him up one time, and I faded away there, and I said, "Young buck, you're gonna have to learn this one." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna learn it. I'm gonna learn it because you did it. That was great, and I'm gonna get it and put it on other people." And for me to come against him every year and compete before I got with him, it was just a pleasure because he was always the one that wanted to compete. I looked forward to competing against him because I knew he was gonna come out and have that competitiveness all the time. And then when I got to play with him, I got to meet the Kobe Bryant, just the Kobe Bryant, and that was good.
Of course, he came into the league as a teenager, not even 18 years old when Jerry West drafted him in the first round to join the Lakers, making the trade, Vlade Divac going to Charlotte so Kobe could come join forces with Shaq. And then he goes on to win 5 NBA championships, a league MVP, 4th on the NBA's all-time scoring list. I mean, he came in with so much hype, Gary, and surpassed so much of that hype. How would you describe his entire career, considering how it started as a teenager with all that attention?
Well, you can't say anything else, but it was great. It was a great career. And when he got in, that was the good thing about NBA at that time because you had a lot of veterans, and then you had to play up to your ability and then play your way into getting a starting position. And Kobe started off slow, especially in Utah when he missed a shot and things like that. And he had to go up and be the guy he was and build to become that person. It wasn't nothing given to him. He worked hard every day. And we had a lot of veterans on our team during the time when Kobe came up in '96 when he got drafted, when he was there. And a lot of people was in there, and he had to work his way up there. And that was the good thing about him, and a good thing about his whole game is that he worked to get to there, When he wouldn't make shots and he would struggle, after the games he would go into the gym by himself and get up 1,000 or 1,500 shots. And that's where he was. He was just a guy like that. And you had to see that in him because he worked hard and he took everything to heart. And that was a good thing about him, that he showed that, and he showed people that it just wasn't a God-given talent. It was a talent that you had to work on every time. And if something over-conquered him, he would conquer it because he'll go and work at it.
Of course, you played against Michael Jordan in an NBA final. You played with Kobe Bryant in one. And you take a look at those two individuals, so often linked throughout their careers, Gary, because of their competitive nature, because of the relentless attitude they took towards the game. They became idols to a younger generation of basketball player. And you see it now based on some of the reaction we've had from social media today, but even just how some of these young kids revere Kobe Bryant. How would you describe what he meant to this present generation of basketball players?
He meant too much to this generation because this is who they grew up watching. Kobe was a guy. When seeing Michael Jordan faded away a little bit, Kobe was a man because Kobe, he wanted to take over after Michael Jordan. He wanted to do things like that. He wanted to go at Michael Jordan. He wanted to be like Michael Jordan, to live the legacy on. And these kids looked at him, and they seen him scoring all the points, him doing everything. Him got the swagger on the court. This is what these young kids looked up to after 90 in the 2000s. This is who they were, Kobe Bryant. And, that's what he did. He was the legacy. When Michael Jordan was out of there, it was Kobe Bryant. That's all it was. It was just him. It was just Kobe Bryant, and everybody looked at him all the time and looked up to him. As you see these young kids right now in the NBA today, they're probably hurting because this was their idol. And it hurts us all, that he's gone at just so early in his life. Early age, at 41, he's gone. And it's just amazing to me. And he meant so much to this game and meant so much to a lot of people. It's like he's supposed to go in the Hall of Fame in a couple of months. And we ain't going to even see him there. And I was looking forward to being up there with him in Springfield, but we're not going to have the chance to do that. And it's just sad.
It's such a tragedy on so many levels, Gary, and that is one for sure. And the fact that his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, was also on the helicopter. She perished as well, and she was the next evolution of Kobe Bryant from player, father, coach of his young daughter, Gianna. Gary Payton joining us here on SportsCenter. Thanks for your perspective, Gary. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.
And of course, there is a statue of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar outside the Staples Center. I want to mention the Lakers are not playing today. They're not playing tomorrow. They will play the Los Angeles Clippers. LA versus LA, with LA's preeminent superstar in the minds of many. Can you imagine the emotion at the Staples Center on Tuesday night when the Clippers and Lakers take the floor? As I mentioned, Kareem, one of the Los Angeles greats, along with Chick Hearn and Wayne Gretzky, Oscar De La Hoya, outside that magnificent building that Kobe, quote unquote, built. And Kareem did weigh in today on social media as well. We've got some reaction. I want to get to it from the NBA's all-time leading scorer, if we can put that on the screen here, from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the passing of Kobe Bryant. Look, we'll have that here in just 1 second.
It's very difficult for me to put in words how I feel about the loss of Kobe Bryant. As a young boy, I met him when he was 11 or 12 years old. I was friends with his dad, Joe. We were former adversaries. Joe played for the 76ers, but he was a good friend and someone that I shared a friendship. And it's hard for me to understand now how this is affecting Joe and his wife. So to Kobe's family, I want to send my most sincere and heartfelt regrets and prayers, and my thoughts are with you guys. Kobe was an incredible family man. He loved his wife and daughters. He was an incredible athlete and a leader in a lot of ways. He inspired a whole generation of young athletes. He was one of the first ones to leave high school and come into the NBA and do so well, dominating the game and becoming one of the best scorers that the Los Angeles Lakers has ever seen. I had the privilege of being there when he scored his 81-point game, and it was something that I will always remember as one of the highlights of the things that I have learned and observed in sports. Kobe, my thoughts are with you. Absolutely. Rest in peace, young man. This loss it's just hard to comprehend.
There's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar speaking for Laker Nation. From one great Lakers center, Michael, to another. This is Shaquille O'Neal, who of course had his ups and downs with Kobe Bryant for sure. There are no words to express the pain I'm going through now with this tragic and sad moment of losing my friend, my brother, my partner in winning championships, my dude, and my homie. He went on to say on his Instagram, "I love you, brother, and you will be missed. My condolences go out to the Bryant family and the families of the other passengers on board. I'm sick right now." Michael, you did mention it was Kobe, his 13-year-old daughter, and 3 others that perished. He is survived by his wife, Vanessa, and 3 other daughters, Bianca Bella, Natalia Diamante, and Capri Kobe Bryant.
Coming up top of the hour there in the Los Angeles area, there could be an update from the local police department. We promise to bring you some of those details as they become available. Right now, continuing coverage here of Kobe Bryant dying at the age of 41, and joining us now here on SportsCenter, someone who got to know him very intimately through a documentary that he did back in 2008, doing work with Kobe. Spike Lee joins us here on SportsCenter. Spike, clearly the emotions are running all over the place as people start to absorb this information. Your reaction to the sudden death of Kobe Bryant?
Well, I was in my office working here in Brooklyn, and my son called me. And I went into complete shock and then called my wife, Tanya. And I thought automatically of the documentary I did with Kobe. The title was called Kobe Don't Work for ESPN, where we had 30 cameras, and it was mic'd, and it was just about him playing this game. It was an end-of-season game against the San Antonio Spurs. Mm-hmm. And Kobe and I, even before we did that, we had would come by me sitting courtside and, say that Spike, the Knicks suck. And I can say nothing. What can I say? So, but here's a really funny thing. And I know it's a sober moment, but this is what I remember. So before the release of the DVD, we wanted Kobe to do a commentary. And he couldn't do it until the Knicks came to New York. So listen to this. The Knicks came to New York and going to do the commentary. He was going to watch the film and do the commentary for the DVD. That was the night he scored 61 points against the Knicks. And he said, Spike, it's all your fault. It's all your fault. So we had a very, 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 kid relationship, and I'm in shock with everybody else, and I'm thinking about his wife Vanessa and the children. But it's the way it happened. First, you hear about Kobe, and then on top of that, his daughter Gianna. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's so much for so many people to absorb, again, because the suddenness of it, how it happened, the fact his daughter was on the plane as well. Spike, you spent so much time around Michael Jordan when he became a pop culture icon, and there was the comparison between Jordan and Kobe for so long, and it would go on forever because they both had a relentless attitude when it came to competition. They wanted to be the great.
Kobe modeled himself after
exactly.
Michael.
Right.
Like a lot of players did that in the league. And it's just horrible. And I told a couple of my athlete friends, I'm not gonna name their names, say, we all should, as soon as we can, hug our wives and hug our children, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. And my son and I are going to the Knicks game tonight, and I'm gonna hug him. And when I go home, I'm gonna hug my daughter and my wife. So many times, we take life for granted. Like, we're always going to be all right. Our relatives or children are always going to be with us. Our parents. I lost my parent when I was in college. So it's devastating. It's devastating.
Spike, what did you learn about Kobe during that process of making that documentary that you really didn't know before?
Well, he was all business. He was... When it came, he was just relentless. And here's what I remember. The final shot of the documentary, which is called Kobe Don't Work, he's walking out of Staples Center with both his daughters. One by the hand, other one he's carrying. That's the final shot. And he was singing Michael Jackson's Thriller, and one of the doors was doing the dance. That's the final image of the... I hope ESPN plays this again so people can see it. It's just a final image of him with both his daughters, and he's singing Thriller.
Spike, let me ask you this. In the line of work that you've made a Hall of Fame career out of, that's what Kobe Bryant was starting to do, going from a life of athletics and basketball to making...
won an Oscar.
He won an Oscar in a very short period of time. Put that into context. Put that into context for us, Spike, what Kobe was able to accomplish in this new endeavor once he retired from the NBA.
Well, here's the thing I like to say. Unlike a lot of athletes who think they're going to play forever, Kobe knew that was not the case. And so I believe wholeheartedly he was planning what his life would be after basketball. Wrote children's books, won an Oscar. So he was, who knows what was in future for him. because he knew that he probably could see it from his father.
Mm-hmm.
Athletes don't play forever, and I hate to say it's sad. These guys today, especially the younger players, they think they're going to play forever, and they don't plan. And it's worse than football, where the contracts are not even guaranteed. Like the money and the fame is going to be there forever. Not the case.
Spike, we appreciate you joining us on such short notice here on the passing of Kobe Bryant. Again, 41 years old, helicopter crash outside of Los Angeles. His 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, also on board that helicopter along with 3 others. Before we let you go, Spike, now that when we go forward and you're going to reminisce about Kobe Bryant and friends and things of that nature, how will you tell people about Kobe Bryant?
Great dude. Great dude. And after the Knicks lose to the Nets tonight, I'm going to go home and put the DVD in. Kobe doing work.
Kobe doing work.
In a while.
Out in 2009, hopefully it'll be on ESPN+.
I'll have his commentary on because I want to hear his voice during the whole thing.
Spike Lee, appreciate the time and appreciate bringing a little bit of laughter to this moment because it's a very sad day to say the least.
I would like to say this first. I'm not trying to be a comedian. I know it's a horrible thing, but just some of the things I remember about Kobe, they were funny.
Yes, and Kobe had a great sense of humor. That's absolutely accurate, Spike.
And I don't mean to disrespect anybody. This is just for the things I remember about Kobe were humorous, and I thought I should say so.
No, we appreciate that because, again, Kobe did have a very good sense of humor, even though
he was funny.
A lot of people didn't get a chance to see it up close and personal. You did. I did as well.
And he, like Michael Jordan, they would curse me out, and lovingly, but, you always tell me first time you see me, Spike, the Knicks suck.
Spike Lee joining us here on SportsCenter. Spike, we appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Good suggestion from Spike, by the way, to maybe get that Kobe Bryant doing work here on ESPN, to have many people go inside the world of Kobe that you guys did, that many of us admired on the outside but didn't know on the inside. Again, the reaction from the sports world is pouring in. Best NBA player of his generation to many, commented on by the best baseball player of his current generation, Mike Trout. My heart and prayers go out to the Bryant family and the passengers' families on this sad day. The impact Kobe had on the world cannot be expressed in words. Rest in peace to a legend and a friend. Tony Parker, former adversary, of course, great duels in the Western Conference Finals those years, and he was in San Antonio, and Kobe for 20 in Los Angeles. I'm heartbroken by this news. You were a true legend and friend. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. My thoughts and prayers to his wife and kids. Hashtag legend, hashtag Mamba, hashtag GOAT. RG3, hurting like the rest of the world right now, but not as much as Kobe's family. Everybody keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Hashtag RIP Kobe. Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics are preparing to play in one of the NBA's 8 games today. They'll take on Zion Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans. Brad Stevens had this to say about the passing of Kobe Bryant.
Probably found out same time everybody else did. Super sad. Ultimate competitor, great for the game, loved the game. And my favorite part has been watching him transition as a dad to a coach and like those type of things. So really hard.
What do you say to these guys? How do you prepare them to play basketball games?
I mean, there's no right or wrong emotion when you're experiencing something like this. These guys, I'd say most of the guys in the league, the way that I describe it, being a 43-year-old, Kobe's their Jordan, so we're not gonna say anything about the game. We'll just talk about why the game matters. My first memory of Kobe was his dad recruited my best friend in high school, and Kobe was just a kid playing open gym with him, and he was my best friend came back and just told me I just played with the best 16-year-old I ever saw. But he was right.
Those are the thoughts of Brad Stevens before the Celtics get set to play. A little more reporting we have for you right now. local police officials in Los Angeles. We'll have a press conference coming up at 5:30 Eastern time. Of course, that's 2:30 out west. We'll bring that to you live here on SportsCenter. Om Young-Masuk, who covers the Lakers for us at ESPN from Los Angeles, according to his source, the Lakers found out about Kobe's death while on the team plane coming back from Philadelphia. Of course, they played the Sixers last night in Philadelphia when LeBron passed Kobe Bryant to become the third all-time leading scorer in the NBA. According to the source, everyone on that plane is in shock, as most of us are as well. Kobe Bryant, again, dead at the age of 41.
And you would imagine when the Lakers do land, they will not play today. They will not play tomorrow. They will take on the Los Angeles Clippers Tuesday night at the Staples Center. And you can only imagine the amount of emotion that will be welling in that building in memory of Kobe Bryant. And our Carrie Champion is anchoring SportsCenter for years, right across the street from the Staples Center, where hundreds upon hundreds of people have gathered. We've been showing you the images throughout the day to pay their respects to Kobe Bryant. Carrie, thanks for joining us. I know you've actually had an opportunity to be texting back and forth with LeBron James. I wonder what you can share from that texting conversation with our audience.
Yeah, hey Zubin. You know what? I think what you guys just said was accurate in terms of them finding out on the team plane and how they were absolutely devastated. I reached out because I think, like most people in this city, a part of the city has died today, and I don't know if that is really being expressed. Because for someone like Kobe Bryant, who meant so much to a city that had not seen a championship in so long, and the ups and the downs, they felt as if he was someone who was going to save us. And he did in so many different ways. Sports unites people, as we all know. And he was a legend. And in that right, I had reached out to LeBron and I said, I can't believe it. People have been crying. We're devastated. This is crazy. On a night less than 24 hours, you know, as you, if you will, pass the torch with Kobe saying, yes, I'm proud of you for surpassing me, one Laker legend to one perhaps will be Laker legend. Thank you so much. He said he was devastated. He couldn't believe it. He said he was on the team plane, as mentioned, and it was just devastating, and no one knew what happened. It just didn't seem real, and we're hearing that a lot. He also mentioned that all he ever wanted to do, honestly, was just make LeBron and MJ proud. He wanted to make MJ proud as well as Kobe, and LeBron said that he was so upset by what was happening, and he just couldn't even understand it. And you have to, in terms of putting this in perspective, you have to understand that this city was very I don't want to say at war, but at odds, because when LeBron was on his way up, a lot of people in the city felt like people forgot about Kobe. And the comparisons for MJ LeBron completely dismissed Kobe. And people in the city felt some type of way because loyalty is real for this purple and gold region, if you will. And when LeBron came here and the way that Kobe essentially said, embrace him and love him, the city then said, okay, we embrace him and we love him. And for them to have this moment last night and a few moments on the court that we've been able to see was really special because the Lakers mean so much to Los Angeles. And now this news is so devastating, and this is not an overstatement. I am telling you, it's palpable. You can feel the sadness. A part of the city has died today. It really has.
Last thing for you, Carrie, because you said it twice and it just struck me. A part of the city has died today. I think everybody watching right now on SportsCenter on ESPN2 is well aware of his basketball accomplishments. But when you say a piece of the city has died, it strikes me that this guy meant more to the city than just 81 points against the Raptors and 60 in his final game and five titles and 18 All-Star appearances. What did Kobe Bryant mean just to the city of Los Angeles outside of basketball?
Outside of basketball, Kobe was unity. The city is known for having certain fractions, right? The have and the have-not. The people who live, you know, north of the 405 freeway and then south of the 405 freeway. But the ability to unite and have a common cause, no matter what your background, no matter where you come from, no matter what language you speak, Kobe was able to do that. And people were here for all of the soap operas, the ups and the downs. And no matter what, there was this belief that it was consistent excellence that we could count on. And there was this thing that we could look to, the North Star, and you represent. When you felt good about something, It gave people who had no hope bragging rights when they're sitting in the bar and they're talking about their favorite players. Well, I'm from LA. I love the Lakers. Kobe's my player. Kobe is someone's childhood. He narrated so many stories for so many people in terms of what they decided to do. I would even say when I was a kid, oh, okay, I understand how Kobe is. I like his mentality. I like the way he plays. I can relate to that. People took on that Mamba mentality. It is a lifestyle, and people believe it. And at this moment, when I say the part of the city has died, what I'm saying is that there's a part of us that will go with him. And obviously legends never die, they live on. But there's a part of us that will go with him because it's hard for us to realize that it's real, if that makes sense. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it's so well said. And as you said, he wanted to make Michael proud, but maybe the greatest accomplishment of all from a basketball perspective is he is inextricably linked with both LeBron James and Michael Jordan. And I don't know how many other people you can say that about. That's our SportsCenter colleague, Carrie Champion, offering her perspective today on a dark day in the NBA, the day that Kobe Bryant died at the age of 41, Michael.
And again, a reminder, we're going to have a press conference from local officials there in Los Angeles coming up 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific. We will bring that to you here live on SportsCenter, but we continue to get more and more reaction throughout the country on the death of Kobe Bryant, including Dawn Staley, who is the women's basketball coach at South Carolina, spent a lot of time with Kobe through the years, and she had her thoughts and perspective on Kobe just moments ago.
Awful. I mean, words can't describe. We see Kobe supporting girls basketball, women's basketball. I mean, he pretty much dedicated his post-career to his daughters, and it's a shame that we lose such a great talent, such a great person, such a great advocate of women's basketball. And I mean, he's a family man. His girls won't get a chance to grow up and him walk them down the aisle. I mean, it's tragic. I mean, I'm still in a state of shock. I know, like everybody else across the world, that our hearts and our prayers go out to his family and to all of Philadelphia.
The thoughts there of Dawn Staley. Now Shanae Ogumike joins us here on SportsCenter, ESPN basketball analyst. Shanae, I was talking about the generations that Kobe has inspired as his career and life evolved. You are clearly a member of that younger generation who looked up to someone like Kobe as an idol when it came to basketball. How are you absorbing what is happening right now?
It's been extremely difficult. I'm currently in Los Angeles. I live downtown, about 6 blocks from Staples Center. And I was just out and about, going about my daily business. And that's when the news broke. I looked at my phone and heard about it. And it's just been extremely tough because as I was crossing through the LA Live Plaza, as you see the shots there, it was not nearly as many people. People forget the Grammys are going on right now. There were people in gowns, there was energy, there was buzz downtown. And then all of a sudden, it seemed like everything went quiet. There started to be more jerseys, Kobe Bryant jerseys, obviously. People just wanted to be together downtown here, and just seeing how everyone is rallying and holding each other and embracing. I watched someone already show artwork, and there was also a flower bouquet already being, presented and erected right in front of Staples. It just is unreal how quickly this has all come together. Just processing this news. And I think in times like this is when, everyone unites. And so me personally being a part of the women's basketball community, this is just extremely personal for us as well. I know we talk a lot about his NBA credentials, but he was very much present at WNBA games, saw him at WNBA All-Star. I'm a member of the Los Angeles Sparks, and he's had a tremendous relationship with our organization, so much so that my head coach, Derek Fisher, always tells us stories about how to be a champion each and every day based on going up against Kobe in practice. I even remember we saw Kobe. Kobe called us into his private room with his daughters at the U.S. Women's National Team training competition that we were able to witness and attend, and he spent the entire halftime plus and then some, about like 30 minutes, talking to us about how to understand Coach Fisher and how to compete at the highest level. And it really helped us as players. He was always giving back. And to me, I think everyone feels it. Just being downtown, it's surreal to see how few people were there when the news broke and how quickly everyone has come together. And I mean, I even heard applause when they showed, his picture on the big screen, right, by Wolfgang Puck. Like, this is just, it's very difficult to process, but at the same time, I think everyone is leaning on each other, especially downtown here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, so many emotions right now, Shanae. Sadness, but also appreciation for what he represented to so many people in whatever regard that might be. Stand by, Shanae. I do want to have to share a little more perspective here from President Barack Obama, the 44th President of the United States. He went to Twitter moments ago and shared the following. Quote, Kobe was a legend on the court and just getting started in what would have been just as meaningful a second act. To lose Gianna is even more heartbreaking to us as parents. Michelle and I send love and prayers to Vanessa and the entire Bryant family on an unthinkable day. And that is something that's also so hard for people to absorb, Shanae. I mean, we all experience death in our lives from a personal standpoint, friends, family, relatives, coworkers, what have you. But when young children die as well, and especially in this particular case, Gianna, who was 13 years old, she goes by Gigi, a budding basketball star in her own right on the junior level, and they were on their way to a game that Kobe was going to coach her in. And you mentioned the WNBA games, how many times he brought her courtside to see the Sparks play or to go and see the University of Oregon women's teams play. The influence that he was having on a young generation of basketball players of both genders, Shanae, and now you're going to have to absorb that tragedy of Gianna not being able to reach her potential in the sport.
Everyone is hurting, and this news came in waves. Obviously, first Kobe Bryant and then his daughter. And I don't even know if I should be saying this, but our team, our Sparks, were, thinking about potentially practicing this year at Mamba Academy. And that's how committed he is to finding role models that support, women's basketball for his daughter. He did it for the love of his children. It just, to me, is hard to process in general, especially when it comes to her too. When you think about the impact he's had on the game, it's not just what he did himself, but it's also, as you mentioned, for the future generations. Everyone in my generation tends to think that, LeBron/Kobe are the greatest of all time because he epitomized basketball dominance in the era in which we were born and raised. So especially for the women's basketball community, we understand this as well. I was even supposed to be 2 weeks ago invited to a private WNBA workout session with Kobe. I know there were a number of other WNBA players involved in that session. I believe Liz Cambage, Kayla McBride, about 10 or so players that came, and he didn't do this for the notoriety. He didn't do this, just to get attention, because a lot of times women's basketball players tend to fight for that, fight for our positioning. But he saw us, he respected us, and those are the things that he would do out of the love of the game, whether he was competing in his prime or afterward. He just cared. He cared, and I think it all stemmed from his daughter's love. And one of my favorite things that he said, a lot of people were saying, hey, don't you want a son? And he said, why do I need a son? I've got a daughter that can carry on my legacy. So totally heartbroken, especially, for the future generation. We knew her to be the rising star, the one that would carry the torch, the one that would rep his name on the back of the jersey. We were excited for that, and it's just tough for that to be gone way too soon.
Shanae, you knew so much about Kobe from a fan perspective, watching him on television for years, and then you had a chance to meet him on a personal level as well. What did you take away the most from those personal interactions that you will remember now that he's gone?
I mean, he was one of a kind, absolutely one of a kind. And I go back to him inviting our entire Los Angeles Sparks team to his nice little suite at the U.S. Women's National Team event. And he, the game's going on and most people are locked into the game. He didn't even care. He just took us to the side and said, okay, how are you guys attacking this season? How are you dealing with Coach Fish? How can I help you be great? You want to come work out with me? Like, these are the things he naturally did. Just knowing how competitive he was as a player, but then how that translated to raising the competition of everyone around him. To me, he was one of a kind, one of a kind.
Shanae, appreciate the time and also the reporting from the scene there outside of Staples Center right now as fans have made their way to downtown Los Angeles in the wake of Kobe Bryant dying at the age of 41. Again, the Grammys are going on at Staples Center tonight, but it may be way more Laker fans down there by the time the evening is over. Shanae Agumike with us here on SportsCenter. Thank you.
One thing, Michael, I wanted to mention, before Kobe became a Los Angeles Lakers legend, before he became a Dream Team, Team USA legend, we'll talk more about that in just 1 second. It all has to start somewhere. And for Kobe, that somewhere was Lower Merion High School in Ardmore, Pennsylvania. It only seemed apropos LeBron passed him on the scoring mark yesterday. That's just outside of Philadelphia, where the Lakers were last night, with LeBron wearing purple and gold. The Lower Merion School District spokeswoman, Amy Buckman, weighed in. Remember, this is the place that germinated, that grew, that incubated Kobe Bryant into the player and the person we knew he became. She weighed in today on behalf of the entire school district.
The Lower Merion School District community is deeply saddened to learn of the sudden passing of one of our most illustrious alumni, Kobe Bryant. Mr. Bryant's connection to Lower Merion High School, where he played basketball prior to joining the NBA, has raised the profile of our high school and our district throughout the world. Our school community will always be grateful for his ongoing generosity to his alma mater, including his dedication of our Kobe Bryant Gymnasium and his support of our girls and boys basketball teams. Greg Downer coached Mr. Bryant from 1992 to 1996. In that time, Mr. Bryant led his team to the 1996 state championship. Mr. Downer said that he is completely shocked and devastated today upon hearing the news, adding that Aces Nation has lost its heartbeat. The entire Lower Merion School District community sends its deepest condolences to the entire Bryant family. Our basketball teams will no doubt pay tribute to Mr. Bryant as our season continues. But at this time, as a district, we will concentrate on supporting those in our community, including Coach Downer and English teacher Jean Mastriano, who Mr. Bryant credited for sparking his love of writing. Thank you for being here.
And those are the words of Amy Buckman, spokeswoman for the Lower Merion School District, where Kobe Bryant started his basketball phenomenon as a high school player. Kobe Bryant was one of the giants of basketball, and today on SportsCenter we're joined by another giant of basketball, the founding member, former owner of the Phoenix Suns, and the man that essentially brought the dream team to the world with USA Basketball. It's a pleasure to have Jerry Colangelo with us tonight here on SportsCenter. Mr. Colangelo, just first things first, we've asked every guest from Spike Lee to Rachel Nichols to former teammates like Gary Payton, your reaction to the death of Kobe Bryant.
Well, it was unreal, surreal, devastating, and just shook me to the core. He was a terrific guy. I had a great relationship with him. And it goes back 24 years when he was just a kid coming out of high school. And we worked him out before the draft and felt that we had a great shot at getting him. The Lakers made a trade with Charlotte, jumped ahead of us in the draft. They end up with Kobe. But my first meeting with him, he was wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and physical, and he was just about ready to launch, if you know what I mean. And to watch his career and later on have the opportunity to really spend time with him was a joy for me. And a little story is that after he scored 81 in the game, 2 days later the Lakers were coming to Phoenix to play our Suns, and he came up to my offices and we were going to get together and talk about USA Basketball. And I thought I'd put him on a little bit, and I said, Kobe, I want you to know that if you play for us, you're going to have a different role. You're going to be a distributor, not a scorer. And he looked at me, didn't break a smile, and said, I'll do whatever you want me to do because I want to be part of it. And boy, was he ever part of it. Without him, we would not have won the gold medal in Beijing. I mean, his performance in the championship game, his leadership from the time we went to training camp set a tone for everyone. He was the first guy in the workout room, and LeBron and others followed him. The first day of scrimmage, he dove for a loose ball and set the tone and leadership all the way. I had great respect for Kobe. It's a tragic loss to the family, and the basketball world will be in mourning for a long time.
They certainly will. Mr. Colangelo, I want to ask you this because, having followed your career and your impact in basketball, you've spent more than a half a century in this great game that we all love, more than 50 years at any level, from ownership to the dream team to USA Basketball. What separated Kobe Bryant? Because you touched Jordan, you touched LeBron, Magic, Larry. I mean, you've been involved with all of the greats of the modern game. What separated Kobe Bryant, Jerry, as we look out at the Staples Center, where now thousands have congregated outside of that Los Angeles sports arena?
Well, when you name the names you did, you're talking about the great legends of the game and some of the greatest players who's ever played. People have always said Michael Jordan was the greatest competitor. I always said that Kobe was right there with him. And so he was not only a great competitor, he was a great physical specimen, but he was cerebral. I think he was really bright, not only on the court, but off the court. And for him to lose his life at another stage in life where he was, going to do great things in the business world, and he was loving every minute of it, is also very tragic. We lose him in so many ways in terms of what contributions he would have made. But it was our joy to be associated with him, to have the privilege of watching this guy play this great game.
Last thing for you, his legacy will be what to you?
That is a difficult one because you want to incorporate so much regarding what that legacy would be. I would say that one of the great competitors of all time, one of the great players of all time in the history of the NBA, and we've had great ones, a guy who showed great leadership and appreciated the people around him.
Well said. That's Jerry Colangelo, founding member of the Phoenix Suns. USA Basketball has done so much for the game, and for him to have the opportunity to reflect and have the perspective he has on the life and death of Kobe Bryant is certainly something sobering, but certainly something we can all learn a little something from. Mr. Colangelo, thank you very much for your comments. Michael, it appears as though we are just about, 10 minutes away from a press conference where we anticipate to learn a lot more about what happened today.
Yeah, again, the helicopter crashed around 9:52 local time there in the Calabasas area of Los Angeles, about 45 minutes northwest of downtown LA. Kobe and his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, along with 3 others, on their way to a youth basketball game in which Kobe and his daughter were going to participate. We're going to have some updates from the local authorities there. We'll bring that to you live here on SportsCenter. Zubin, sometimes in society, it's sad that someone has to pass away before a lot of the respect that people feel for them are brought to the forefront. Fortunately for Kobe Bryant, we did have a taste of that prior to today's tragic news when he retired from the NBA after a Hall of Fame career, and so many players and coaches, former teammates, shared what they got from Kobe as a competitor and also what he meant to them in their own respective careers. And it was all part of a piece that we had right here on ESPN called Dear Kobe.
I'm young, but I'm not going to back down from anyone. I'm just going to play hard. And, who knows?
Dear Kobe.
Dear Kobe.
Dear Kobe.
Dear Kobe.
Dear Kobe, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kobe Bean.
Kobe, thank you, man.
Dear Kobe, thank you.
Thank you for your passion, your commitment, and dedication to basketball.
Thank you for showing us that the number 24 isn't just a number on your jersey, but the amount of hours in a day that you have to devote to the game to be the best.
Thank you for giving and giving and giving.
Thank you for pushing through when your body says no, but your heart said yes.
Thank you for the games that you refused to lose, and the ones you always seemed destined to win.
Thank you for your endless drive.
For showing us that even on your worst day, there's nothing else to do but push harder.
For showing us there's no such thing as magic, only hard work.
Thank you for playing the game the way it was meant to be played.
Thank you for teaching us to believe in ourselves, even when nobody else did.
For 20 years, you gave our game all you had, and we are eternally grateful.
Thank you for being you, competitor supreme.
Thank you for loving the game of basketball.
Congratulations, and we're going to keep chasing you.
"20 years Kobe Bryant spent in the NBA, winning 5 NBA championships, but he was most proud of being a father to his 4 girls, including 13-year-old Gianna, who was on that helicopter that crashed today early this morning in Los Angeles. Kobe Bryant, 41 years old, his daughter Gianna, 13. Joining us now is Tim Legler, ESPN NBA analyst here. Tim, you spent a lot of time in the Philadelphia area. We talked about Kobe coming up there through the high school ranks at Lower Merion, leading his team to a championship, becoming a nationwide star even before he entered the NBA. That city and Kobe, like, what did those two things mean to one another?
Yeah, well, look, obviously, Mike, you know the history of Philadelphia basketball runs deep. Very proud. Kobe, the shining star amongst that. And, for me, I think about going back to the days when I was playing in the league, and I was fortunate enough and blessed and honored to be finishing up my career as Kobe was coming into the league. So I was able to play with him in the summers. And I remember the first time I ever saw him at 15 in a gym full of NBA players and guys that were playing overseas, all of whom had Philadelphia roots. And we'd come back in the summer and we'd find a local high school or college gym and we'd run pickup all day. And I remember that's the first time I laid eyes on Kobe at 15. And knew when I left that day that I had seen something special because there was a 15-year-old kid, imagine this, freshman in high school, out there on an NBA court with 9 other NBA players. And he wasn't just out there filling a spot. He was out there to do things and be competitive, and he wanted the ball, and he wanted to compete against those guys. And he's just, to me, like, the epitome of what Philadelphia basketball's all about. It's such a tight-knit community, and I'm, blessed and honored to have known Kobe going back to that time and had a chance to play against him in the league. Competed with him in an all-star weekend together back in '97 when he won the dunk contest, and I was in the three-point shootout, so I got to spend some time with him that weekend. And over the years, every time I got an opportunity to be around him, just, we would always recognize the Philly connection, and it just means so much to guys that have either played high school ball or college ball in the area. How much it means to be part of that community. And Kobe, like I said, he's the brightest star of all of them.
He was sort of the bridge of a generation from Michael Jordan to now LeBron James and going forward. But his impact on the game itself, Tim, how would you describe what Kobe Bryant did to the NBA brand of basketball?
Well, I think the greatest tribute you can give to a player is to understand the way that he worked at his craft and how much he loved the game perpetuates an entire generation to love it more. And that's really what Kobe Bryant was. If you think about the history of the league, there are certain guys that are, really influential, more influential than others over generations. And Kobe Bryant's one of the most influential, not only players that ever played in the NBA, Mike, he's one of the most influential athletes of all time in terms of the number of players that emulated him, looked up to him, and wanted to be him. And so that's, to me, the greatest compliment you can give a player is you never cheated the game. He loved the game. He gave everything he had to it, and as a result, he influenced an entire generation of athletes to want to be like Kobe Bryant. I mean, what more can you do to honor someone than to try to want to be like them? And if you interview, the players and went across the league, 450 guys now, it's amazing how many guys grew up wanting to be Kobe Bryant. So that, to me, is the greatest testament you can give to a player. And for me, the combination of the athletic ability with the fundamentals, this was one of the most fundamentally sound players the league has ever seen, despite his raw athletic ability. And now, a guy that was just a testament to what loving the game is all about. You just want to continue to perfect who you are as a player, and that was Kobe at all times. I mean, one of the most competitive people that's ever lived.
Tim, I've covered professional sports and major college sports for more than 25 years. I've been around some of the marquee franchises in college basketball, college football, and NBA and NFL as well. And I'll say this about Kobe Bryant. I've never seen a competitor play through more pain and still be great while doing it than Kobe Bryant, whether it was a broken finger, separated shoulder, a banged up knee. Like, this dude played through anything if he was capable of playing at all. It literally took a broken foot or a ruptured Achilles to get him off the court. Can you speak to his ability to play through pain that every NBA player goes through sometimes, that the average dude would sit out, but Kobe would go out there and drop 40 on you?
Yeah, that's a great point, and I think for me, the way you sum that up with Kobe is the reason I have so much admiration and respect is, Kobe was one of those guys I considered a guaranteed investment of my time. For the next 2.5 hours, if I was going to watch Kobe Bryant play, I knew what I was going to get. I was going to get a guy that never cheated a single play. He never frame of mind. He never was lazy on the court. He never took a play off. He never laid on a screen. He never jogged back on defense. He was a guy that for the next 2.5 hours, as a basketball fan, you were going to get a guaranteed return on your investment of time. And that you could only do that by playing through injuries, because we all feel it. I mean, I played 10 years in the league, and there's not a guy that plays in the course of an NBA season that's not feeling it every single day. And some guys have minor things, some more major, but all of us feel it. And so to go out there night after night, I think he played more than 80 games 6 times in his career. To go out there night after night with the kind of responsibility that the superstars have on their shoulders and play through that stuff, Kobe Bryant is the epitome of what that is. So I think it's a great point for him, and that's one of the reasons I'm so sad today, Mike, is because you give so much to the game as a player, and he did it for 20 years, and then to make the transition to the next phase of your life, because you miss so much as a parent, as a husband, as a family man, giving to the game, because it consumes you to such an extent to be great and to make it to that. To then make the transition and the things you have to look forward to with the rest of your life, and to celebrate that time with your family, and to do all those things that you so looked forward to as a player, but you couldn't commit to because of your craft. That to me is what's so tragic in this, and having 2 children with my kids and know what those times were like, traveling to tournaments and spending all of that time together. To me, the things that are left undone for Kobe to do and the great things he was going to do, going to spend with his family and the impact on his daughters, that to me is the real tragedy in all of this. Made me just flat out sick today and shaken to the core by hearing this.
Yeah, Tim, I think so many of us feel exactly the same way. I mean, there's tragedy and then there's levels of tragedy, and this story has so many levels that it's going to take quite some time for many of us to accept and process, especially those who spent any time with Kobe or around his family. Tim Legler here on SportsCenter.
Michael, that's very well said. We are waiting for a press conference from the police. It's going to come here any moment, and as soon as it does, we'll have it for you live in its entirety here on ESPN2 to help fill in some of the things we don't know about this tragedy. But until we get to that press conference, the Clippers are playing the Orlando Magic in just about a half hour from now. The Clippers will play the Lakers at the Staples Center on Tuesday. Can you imagine bracing for the wave of emotion on that day? But business at hand for the Clippers. They've got the Magic. Pre-game, as always, Doc Rivers surrounded by the media, and this was an emotional Doc talking about the loss of Kobe Bryant.
I haven't. Listen.
How difficult is it to play a game right now?
I don't know. I just don't have a lot to say. The news is just devastating to everybody who knew him, who known him a long time. And he means a lot to me, obviously. He was such a great opponent, It's what you want in sports. He had that DNA that very few athletes can ever have, the Tiger Woods and the Michael Jordans, It's funny, I was getting to know him more since he retired, you know. Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, we have to go play. I mean, the news is just so devastating for Vanessa and his family, and there's just so many people he touched, you know. And you know, it's looking at my young players and seeing how emotional they are. They didn't even know him, you know, and it just tells you how far his reach was. So, and this is just shocking news for all of us. And sorry, I don't have a lot to say. I just can't. I have to go talk to the team before a game and tell them to quit. Okay.
Wow.
An example of the emotions that so many people around the league are feeling right now. That is a shot of LeBron James. After the Lakers game in Philadelphia last night, they stayed in the Philadelphia area. They flew back this morning, and they learned of the news while they were on their way back to L.A. As Young Masuk, our ESPN reporter in Los Angeles, reported earlier. The entire plane was just devastated by the news, as you might expect them to be. And there is LeBron, less than 12 hours after he passed Kobe Bryant for third on the NBA's all-time scoring list in his second season with the Lakers before he gets back to L.A. One of his mentors passes away in a helicopter crash in the Calabasas area. Speaking of that crash, we have an update right now, a live press conference going on from local officials there in Los Angeles.
Thank you.
Let's go live with Chief Darrell Osby of the County Fire Department.
Good afternoon. My name is Darrell Osby, and I'm the Fire Chief of the Los Angeles County Fire Department. I want to thank you for coming here to today's briefing of the Willow incident. Today, shortly before 10 o'clock at 9:47 a.m., the Los Angeles County Fire Department received a 911 call of a potential helicopter down in a brush fire at the intersection of Los Virgenes Road and Willow Glen Street in the city of Calabasas in unincorporated Los Angeles County. Upon arrival, our firefighters discovered approximately a quarter-acre brush fire that resulted from a crash on the hillside. The Los Angeles County Fire Department initial response was 15 pieces of apparatus and 56 personnel that consisted of paramedics, engine company, heavy rescue, truck company, hand crews, and aircraft, and a chief officer to oversee the incident. Upon arrival during the incident and upon arrival of the Sheriff's Department, our two respective departments entered into unified command to handle this incident. Our firefighters on scene indicated that there was a debris field and steep terrain with a quarter-acre brush fire that was occurring at the time. Our firefighters hiked in to the accident site with their medical equipment and hose lines to extinguish the stubborn fire, as it included the brush fire, debris from a helicopter, and the fire also included magnesium, which is very hard for our firefighters to extinguish because magnesium reacts with oxygen and water. In addition to our firefighters hiking into the incident, we had one helicopter flying to the incident with firefighter paramedics on board. Those paramedics were hoisted down to the incident early into the incident. They did a search of the area for survivors. Unfortunately, all the survivors on board were determined to have been perished. Firefighters and hand crews worked to extinguish the fire while carefully preserving the incident for investigation. Currently, the investigation is still ongoing. I would like to turn this over to my sheriff to continue the press briefing.
Thank you, Chief Osby. Personnel from Los Hills Sheriff's Station responded to the scene of the crash site and assisted the fire department, and we've established a containment area, and now our Aero Bureau has a handle on traffic or aircraft accidents. However, when there's a fatality, then it switches to the National Transportation Safety Bureau, the NTSB, and the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. FAA is already on scene and assisting. We're waiting the arrival of the coroner's office to assist in the recovery of the remains. As the chief indicated, they went up.
We want to welcome the audience on ABC, ESPN, joining us here on ESPN2 as well. Michael Lee, Zuba Mahenti, live breaking news coverage on the death of Kobe Bryant, who died at the age of 41 in a helicopter crash early this morning in the Calabasas area of Los Angeles. You are looking live now at a press conference from local firefighters and police. We will resume that press conference right now and get more information on the death of Kobe Bryant.
Notifications to next of kin. And it'd be extremely disrespectful to understand that your loved one was perished and you learn about it from TMZ. That is just wholly inappropriate, so we're not going to be going there. We're going to wait till the coroner does their job, and we're assisting the families of those who believe they've been impacted, and it's a tough process. And our hope goes out to all of the members that were on board, all the family of everyone who was on board this aircraft, and God bless their souls. So at this point in time, we have nothing that we can add until the coroner does their job, and we'll be making those notifications when we have that information and we know the next of kin have been notified. Then we can release the information publicly, and you'll be notified in subsequent announcements.
Sheriff, there is one thing you can confirm. Do we have a confirmation actually of 9 bodies there at the scene?
That is our belief, yes.
Thank you. So we realize at this point there are so many questions. There's a lot of information out there, and again, we understand. There's a lot of information that's floating, but we certainly have a responsibility and an obligation, out of respect, of course, for the families. And this is a very difficult time for us all, for the city. We have the mayor here of Calabasas, also City Council. We thank them for being here. And in fact, they wanted to pass on a message that for those in the community that want to gather here and are coming to Calabasas, if you do, you are welcome to join others at the Dianza Park here in Calabasas, and the cross streets there are Los Hills and Las Virgenes. Also, the Sheriff's Information Bureau will be sending out updates as to when there will be, if there is one, a press advisory out, a notification of another press conference or any other updates through our Twitter. So please look for that. And again, we thank you so much for being here today. And again, thank you for your time.
Elizabeth,
Sheriff, please. Sheriff, we have more.
Sheriff, just a question quickly on sealing off the area. We know the NTSB has to be there to do that thing. Is the public going to be able to get anywhere nearby, or is a stretch of Las Virgenes going to be shut down for an indeterminate period of time?
It'll remain shut down for an indeterminate period.
How big of an area? Any idea?
Still on site?
To keep it
Can you confirm there was heavy fog in the area?
So again, those are the first public comments from first responders there in the Calabasas area regarding the helicopter crash that Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna were on board. During that press conference, they would not confirm any of the identities of the people on board that helicopter, although multiple outlets, including ESPN, have confirmed that Kobe Bryant was indeed on board that helicopter with his 13-year-old Gianna. Initially, we were told, Zubin, that there were 5 people on board, but according to officials there were 9 bodies involved in that crash. Again, more information coming out. We will continue to follow it throughout the evening here on the ABC and Disney family of networks.
Indeed. So Kobe was a father, a husband, an NBA legend, an Academy Award winner, and he was also an icon, and he's gone too soon. We're joined by Jalen Rose, ESPN NBA analyst, and Jalen, every single guest we've had on, from Spike Lee to Gary Payton, people that admired him, people that played with him, we all asked them the very same first question. What's your reaction?
This is a devastating day for humanity, and I know Kobe Bryant was one of the top basketball players of all time, but he was educated. He was a gentleman who spoke multiple languages. He was a father. He was a husband. He was really disciplined and hardworking. He was a guy that had perseverance, somebody that I got a chance to meet when he first entered the NBA. I was living in Los Angeles, getting a chance to be in the gym with him at UCLA earlier in his career. I lived in downtown Los Angeles for a long period of time, basically had a place in Los Angeles his entire career. and playing against him in the 2000 NBA Finals, watching him get his first NBA championship, then covering him as a member of the media basically for the last 20 years. He was always gracious and respectful. He was always the smartest guy in the room and the hardest working guy in the room. And it graduated to later in his career. We know about the historic 81-point performance, and it uniquely now positions me to feel like I'm honored to have not only having the opportunity to take the floor with him at any point of his career, but for one of his more notable moments. Being at appearances with Kobe, I got a chance to speak at his basketball camp. He was someone that supported the high school I founded and gifted us gym shoes. He was really diligent about the things that he believed in. He was an industry tastemaker, and we're really going to miss Kobe, not only, again, as an example of a basketball player, but as somebody that gave so much to humanity and is gone way too soon.
I want to ask you a question for those that are watching on ABC that may be familiar with Kobe Bryant and his exploits, but maybe don't know him the way some of our viewers on ESPN, the avid sports fans, do. Throughout the afternoon, every guest has come on and said it was all about embodying the Mamba mentality. For those that don't know the Mamba, Kobe's nickname, can you help put into perspective from Jerry Colangelo down to Gary Payton, owners to players, everybody experiencing and admiring the Mamba mentality? What did that mean for this once-in-a-lifetime athlete?
It was an all-around exhaustion to prove to himself and the rest of the world that he could be the greatest of all time. And it was something that he talked about earlier in his career. And when you start saying right out of high school that you're going to be better than Michael Jordan, you're going to get a lot of kikis and a lot of Snickers. And for Kobe Bryant to be the next best thing that we've ever seen to the game, to MJ, is really impressive. A 5-time champion, 2-time Finals MVP, NBA MVP, Academy Award winner. He was a well-rounded man and gone way too soon, and continues to serve as an example of a 41-year-old man. Wow. And I've said this on multiple occasions. We can't just take the time and energy to bring flowers to the funeral, so to speak, to those that we love, but also bring them soup when they're sick. And that there's people in your life that you have strained relations with. I remember I had a point in my life where I didn't meet my father, and I felt really bitter about it my entire life. And to have that opportunity to release that energy and that negativity on my heart and that anxiety, I just want to implore everybody that can hear my voice, if you have that opportunity to do that in your life with friends and families, take that opportunity, because life clearly is way too short.
It's well said, Jalen. I know you said you lived in downtown Los Angeles for years. We should mention the Lakers are off today. They're off tomorrow. They will be back in action Tuesday at the Staples Center, where thousands have gathered outside right now to pay tribute to Kobe Bryant. They will take on the Los Angeles Clippers on that night, and you can only imagine the amount of emotion that will be in that building Tuesday night in downtown Los Angeles. Before I let you go, at 41 years old, with everything he accomplished as a father and a player, probably more important as a father, he would tell you, Kobe Bryant's legacy is?
Kobe Bryant's legacy of one of great discipline, great dedication. You talked about him being a father and being a husband, and watching players, how they evolve when they retire, Zubin. It's a really tough transition. It's not about how much money that you made or the accolades that you've been able to achieve. It's the ability to reinvent yourself. And I remember doing an 81 Olives commercial with Kobe Bryant, and in that commercial he talked about being a businessman, being an investor, being somebody that's going to coach his daughters and continue to be a beacon for hope in society. So we lost a truly great man, and I'm really devastated by it.
Those are the words of Jalen Rose joining us for his perspective tonight here on the death of Kobe Bryant, gone at the age of 41 after a helicopter crash this morning in Southern California.
I'd like to welcome everyone watching ESPN's continuing live breaking news coverage of Kobe Bryant dying at the age of 41 on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN2. Zubin Mehenti, I'm Michael Lees. Reaction is coming in from all across the country, as you might imagine. We've been sharing some of that with you here. We bring in now Stephen A. Smith, one of our ESPN colleagues who's known Kobe Bryant for quite some time, even going back to the high school days at Lower Merion High School outside of Philadelphia. Stephen A., you've had more and more time to process what's happening now in terms of the death of Kobe Bryant and also the reaction we are seeing from people to that death. How are you summing this together when you're talking to people over the last few hours?
Well, you just realize that we lost somebody very, very special. And I think that somebody said earlier that anybody associated with the NBA community, I think it was Coach Alvin Gentry at New Orleans Pelicans, he said anybody associated with the NBA community is incredibly devastated by the loss of Kobe Bryant. He's a 5-time champion. We know all of those things. We know he was a winner. We know his dedication and his commitment to excellence. But, you know, there was life beyond basketball, and it wasn't just about him winning an Academy Award. It wasn't just about him doing detail for ESPN Plus or a plethora of other things that he was working on. He was really highlighting for basketball players, for athletes, professional athletes everywhere and beyond, that there is life after your initial aspiration has ultimately expired. You know, he wanted to be a basketball player all his life, wanted to be a superstar NBA player and a champion, and he achieved that. Well, what do you do from there, and how easy is it to make that transition? Well, Kobe Bryant was one of those folks that preached about being prepared to make that transition, preparing yourself ahead of time, understanding that it can't last forever, but if you go about the business of putting forth your due diligence and making sure that you set new goals, new things to aspire for and to pursue and ultimately to achieve, life can be just as fulfilling beyond those days of playing than you ever imagined. And it was something that he talked about on numerous occasions with athletes. So if you look at a LeBron James, the Dwayne Wades of the world and others, and look at how they've evolved from being just professional athletes to being so much more than that, particularly in the business community, ask them about their relationship with Kobe Bryant. Ask them about the wisdom that he imparted upon them. Ask them about when they all went to Beijing for the 2008 Olympics and what have you, and the kind of things that he talked to them about and he religiously talked to them about, and how it served as an inspiration for them to go and extend that level of wisdom and knowledge to other people. This was who Kobe Bryant was. It was who he aspired to be. He wanted to motivate. He wanted to inspire. He wanted to make a difference far beyond the basketball court, while still reminding you that when it was his time, he did all he could to never cheat himself, never cheat the Lakers organization, never cheat the game of basketball, never cheat anybody from getting exactly what they expected from him. An all-out effort in pursuit of a level of excellence achieved by very, very few people on the planet Earth. It was who he was, it was who he wanted to be, and it was who I knew him to be, not just as a reporter that covered him, but ultimately, once he retired, somebody that I considered a genuine friend, who was clearly a friend to me. And it's devastating that he's gone, and we're all hurting right now. I just got off the phone with Shaq. Shaq was crying, and a couple of other people were just incredibly hurt by what's transpired. I know I've shed some tears. I know Jalen and others, Jay Williams and others, have shed the tears as well. It's devastating. You know, that's the best way I can put it.
Steve, I spent 10 years in Los Angeles covering the Lakers and some of the teams there in LA. And the thing about Kobe Bryant that stood out to me, when you're in Hollywood, there are some big stars that go out, and not everybody is an A-list star. You have Jack Nicholson sitting courtside. Those are big stars. But every time Kobe Bryant walked into a room or even walked into Staples Center, he was the biggest star there, because even the biggest celebrities wanted to talk to Kobe Bryant. He was the guy that everyone was looking to be near, to talk to get a little piece of something as they walked away from him. For those watching right now who don't know necessarily the entire athletic career of Kobe Bryant and what it means to the game of basketball, put into perspective, if you would, Stephen A., in only the way that you can, how big of a star Kobe Bryant was.
Well, he was definitely a mega star. I mean, obviously there's Michael Jordan, and then you look at others, and Kobe Bryant was right there in terms of his cachet, what he meant, his signature, what he was all about, the Mamba mentality and what have you. But you got to go back, take into consideration he's at Lower Merion High School. He's at Lower Merion High School, and he's All-American. He comes straight to the pros. He's telling you he's going to be as great as Michael Jordan. And then even the great Michael Jordan, when he retired, all the names that you were bringing up, he said, that guy right there, Kobe Bryant, is the guy that I look at when it comes to challenging me because of the mentality that Kobe Bryant had. And then again, you take it beyond the court of play. As I talked to you about it earlier, you know, I'm hosting a show, quite frankly, on ESPN 2 years ago, and everybody's talking about, go ahead, do this, do those interviews, do that. You're going to be the next Oprah. And Kobe Bryant comes onto the show. He said, love Oprah, but forget all of that. It ain't about Oprah. It's Harpo. He was talking about what she owned, not what she was in front of the camera. And those are the kind of things that he constantly reminds you of when you thought your aspirations were enough, when you thought they were lofty enough to pursue, and that was it. He was always reminding you that there was so much more to achieve, and that was what was so special about him.
Stephen A., as always, appreciate the perspective on the life and legacy of Kobe Bryant, dead at the age of 41.
You know, there aren't too many people that are inextricably linked with Michael Jordan and LeBron James, but Kobe Bryant is one of those individuals. Other greats of the game reflect on this late great superstar.
Kobe Bryant announced that he's going to be retiring after.
I remember season 1. You said, who is this kid?
His 20th season, all with the Lakers.
Had one of the greatest careers in basketball history.
The body just will not allow him to be what he once was any longer.
No one understands what it takes to be great.
The force that drives you to do what others don't.
The sacrifices made, all with one purpose in mind.
Push yourself to become better.
The extra seconds, minutes, hours of work put into perfecting one's game.
Lifting yourself above the rest.
To make sure your name will forever be synonymous with one word, greatness. What does it take to be great? Work ethic, determination, drive.
It takes ability, it takes a desire.
Baylor moves on Russell again, turns and puts up a tremendous field goal.
I think it takes years of players relying on you to take the big shot, make the great play.
You know, do the things that bring success to the team. That's what it's all about.
And it's getting out and measuring yourself against others. And I think that when you have an attitude like that, I think that's part of greatness.
At first I met Kobe. Kobe was just out of high school. He was out here for a workout, and I've never seen anyone work out as hard as Kobe.
I've never seen anybody that prepared. He was 17 years old and was ready to play NBA basketball. That's pretty amazing.
I think Jerry West was the one who said this. He said, I want this kid because this kid has more talent than anybody I have playing for me right now. And he had a great team. Just a kid who would never take a night off. Even if it wasn't going well, it was always going to be trying to slay the dragon.
If you don't have that type of work ethic, you don't get to enjoy the benefits.
Out to Kobe. All the way high. What a way to finish!
Killer instincts is not the confidence in yourself. I can make this shot against anybody. I can make this play. You want to win.
There's extra pressure to play for a team that is expected to win, but that's an incentive that most athletes enjoy. They want to prove to everybody that they can deliver.
81 points for Kobe. It's the most points scored by one individual in a game since Wilt Chamberlain.
They call him the Black Mamba. I mean, man, deadly. He was just, to me, one of the greatest ball players I've ever seen to play basketball.
His quickness and agility and ability to get his jump shot off from anywhere, you had to respect that. He was an issue for the defense.
Well, I think the Black Mamba is appropriate. He makes shots with guys draped all over him, falling down, left hand or right hand. I just, witnessed him doing some amazing things.
The Lakers are champions, back-to-back titles. The LA Lakers, the 2010 NBA champions.
When you're able to go all the way to the top, you feel that you put your name in granite, more or less.
The ecstasy of winning it all and being the best player on the planet for his tenure, and nobody can take that away.
I just had to just accept the fact that I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm okay with that.
I split my kneecap and I ruptured my Achilles.
That night I was sleeping on the floor in Cleveland, and it was a snowstorm. My knees was hurting. The tendonitis was kicking in overtime.
Are you going to go slide on the floor if the ball that's 20 feet away from you? No, you're not going to do that.
And physically, I just couldn't do the things that I did when I was younger. And when you can't do that, that's time to quit.
And I was like, all right, this is the end. I've just gotten to see Kareem play his last game. And, Kobe's of that ilk, so it is the passage of an era.
We were playing Portland here. A kid from the bench said something to me. He said, hey, we're going to beat you guys tonight. I looked at him, I said, I got one rule. If you weren't born when I started playing, you can't talk trash.
When people talk about the greatest of all time, it's what you accomplished on the court. But when you look back on it, no one has to tell you it all. You know what you did.
He was a dominant player and deserved any accolades that he acquired at that time.
He's as good as anyone who ever played. Let's put it that way.
I'm pretty sure that we'll see a statue someplace around the Staples Center.
You're not going to see guys like that often. They don't come around maybe once in your lifetime.
Kobe Bryant, dead at the age of 41. He is survived by his wife, Vanessa, and 3 daughters. His 4th daughter, Gianna, at the age of 13, perished in the crash with her father.
Again, reaction coming from all across the country, especially within the basketball family. Magic Johnson, we love you forever. Number 8, number 24, Kobe Bryant has 2 jerseys hanging from the rafters inside Staples Center. Of course, Magic so much a part of why Kobe Bryant became a Laker.
NBA Commissioner Adam Silver weighing in, quote, the NBA family is devastated by the tragic passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna. For 20 seasons, Kobe showed us what it is possible when remarkable talent blends with an absolute devotion to winning. Those are the words of NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, following up with, he was one of the most extraordinary players in the history of our game with accomplishments that are legendary: 5 NBA championships, an NBA MVP award, 18 NBA All-Star selections, and 2 Olympic gold medals.
Our coverage continues here on ESPN2. For those of you on ABC, World News Tonight is next, or your local news, except for on the West Coast. ESPN, you're going to the Pelicans and Celtics game. And again, continuing coverage, Kobe Bryant, at the age of 41, dying in a helicopter crash in the Calabasas area of Los Angeles, about 40 minutes northwest of downtown Los Angeles. You're looking live there at LA Live, just across the street from Staples Center, where Kobe Bryant won his 5 NBA championships. Staples Center hosting the Grammys tonight, but so many Laker fans have come down there to pay their respects to Kobe Bryant. Thousands of fans now in the downtown LA area. We've had reaction throughout the afternoon into the evening here as everyone's trying to absorb the fact that Kobe Bryant is dead at 41.
Today's a tough day. Today's a hard day. And I hope that everybody at home, you give that person next to you whatever thing you have wrong in your life with them. If this might be small or big, let that shit go. It doesn't matter. I know I curse. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
None of that stuff matters, man. This is it's about life and being precious with every damn second we have here, because from somebody who knows who almost happened to me like that, man, it's just over. It's done randomly, arbitrarily. And his 4 girls and his wife, we need to come around them and support them and help them.
Is one of the iconic figures, not just in the history of the NBA, but in modern professional sports and culture. Kobe transcended the Lakers and the NBA, and this is for a lot of players who grew up idolizing him, peers who he played against. I think within the league itself, there's just shock and obviously great sadness.
He took the idea of being a Laker and fortified the belief that the fans have that they are so special, the Laker elitism, and cheered on that belief and said, it is special. This is the only team I ever want to play for. Even though him and LeBron were fierce competitors, he wanted that to end once LeBron came, because he cared about the franchise and he cared about quite frankly, the fans. And they gave him so much, and he wanted them to be able to enjoy what it is to be a Laker fan with the next generation of teams.
The idea that he's gone right now, I really can't. I mean, this guy, he seemed like a legend, right? But in a way, man, it's a remarkable life that he led, right? I mean, he's 41, 42 at this point. Like, I can't imagine Los Angeles without him. He's like the mayor of Los Angeles, whatever you want to call it, and and nothing political, but almost like this spiritual mayor, right? And the city just feels different without him here. LA is still Kobe's town. I know LeBron James is here now, but that seat, that throne is Kobe Bryant's, and it probably will be forever.
It wasn't just about basketball with him, it was about life. And that Mamba mentality wasn't something that was reserved for just basketball players or for just athletes. It was for any human being out there who had a dream, who felt the need to be inspired about something, who wanted something so badly. It was about going out and getting it, and he was just that kind of guy.
You know, I don't think Kobe made any sort of qualms about saying, I want to be like this guy. I want to be compared to this guy. From the game to the mannerisms, yeah. Michael Jordan has weighed in, quote, I'm in shock over the tragic news of Kobe and Gianna's passing. Words can't describe the pain I'm feeling. I loved Kobe. He was like a little brother to me. We used to talk often, and I will miss those conversations very much. Jordan went on to say, I am in shock over the tragic news of their passing. Once again, this is the first part of the statement that I just recited. Words can't describe the pain I'm feeling. His love for Kobe, he was like a little brother to me. We used to talk often, and I will miss those conversations very much. Yvette, that's his wife, joins me in sending my deepest condolences to Vanessa, the Lakers organization, and basketball fans around the world. Kobe Bryant, dead at the age of 41. Michael, survived by his wife and his 3 daughters, Bianca Bella, Natalia Diamante, and Capri Kobe Bryant.
13-year-old Gianna, also on that helicopter crash on the way to a basketball game today that Kobe was going to participate in with the youth squad for Gigi. We talk about Kobe's legacy, and we link it to Michael Jordan, and we link it to LeBron James, and that's fine because of the generation in which Kobe came into the league. But Kobe was unquestionably his own man. He was relentless in his approach. He was uncompromising in his work ethic, and he did it his way. If no one else did, it was going to be the way Kobe Bryant thought was best for him, his team, and his legacy. Here is Kobe Bryant in his own words.
The Kobe Show, take 2. For me, it is life. I love everything about this game.
Buckle up for Kobe! Kobe Bryant elevating. What did I just see? Kobe, Kobe, Kobe.
Are you absolutely kidding me?
He is not human.
Kobe Bryant, I have decided to skip college and take my talent to the NBA.
The Charlotte Hornets select Kobe Bryant from Lower Merion High School in Pennsylvania.
It's a step up from high school.
The Charlotte Hornets have traded Kobe Bryant to the Lakers.
Golden jersey, baby.
Here we go, lifetime dream. You know, it's finally been realized.
The 18-year-old Kobe Bryant, the youngest player to ever appear in a regular season NBA game.
Kobe Bryant will take an 18-year-old rookie. Short, no time remains. Bryant for the tie. Another air ball.
I mean, what Babe Ruth said, he swings big and he misses big. Same thing with me. I have no fear whatsoever. If I take the last second shot and I miss, so what? The confidence is picked up.
Hammers it down.
Understanding the game mentally. Once your confidence goes, then your skills pick up. Well, I think one of the responsibilities is you have to set an example every day.
Watch this play.
Kobe
driving past Miller. How good is this kid? The Lakers have done it. This will be their 7th NBA title.
Right now, we just want to enjoy this first championship. Are we looking forward to coming back next year and defending our throne? Absolutely.
What I have to do here is just try to help my teammates win and try to ensure another championship. That's what my mindset is. It's not on individual statistics, so I win another championship.
A three-peat for the world champion Los Angeles Lakers.
As long as the big fella's here, I'm going to continue to win these rings.
I'm the big brother, he's the little brother. If any one of us start doing our own thing, then we're going to have trouble.
My relationship with Shaq is just fine. Obviously, we go our separate ways, but we're cool. I support him, he supports me, we get the job done, and that's it.
I don't know why anybody else would want to change other than selfish reasons.
He used to get mad at me for not playing team basketball. I used to get mad at me because he wasn't in tip-top shape.
You know how I be. Last week, Kobe couldn't do without me. Kobe, tell me how my taste.
I think Shaq would have won a championship without me on that team. They're crazy.
You know, they say, oh, well, him and Shaq didn't get along, so Shaq's leaving. He's not happy there, so Kobe must have ran him out. It's not true.
When I first came into the league, I guess you could say I was maybe a little arrogant. Now, I look back and I kind of smile at that because your game really what gains your respect. It's not really the attitude that comes along with it. And it's just funny to kind of look back and look at the way I've been able to mature and grow as an individual.
You talked about him being in one of those zones. Yeah. He's definitely in it right now. For three again. Yes! 81-point game. 55 in the second half.
It's about the W. I turned it on because I felt like we were a little lethargic, so I just started going full bore, and it just turned into something special.
Extends and puts it down. He has the all-time record at Madison Square Garden, 61 points. Just an epic performance by Kobe Bryant.
It felt great to get that reaction from these fans. It's just them saying we love what you do. It was a great performance, and to celebrate that at that moment felt great.
We're at a place right now where we're trying to get back to that elite level. I will truly be happy if we are fortunate enough to win another championship. Then I'll be a happy camper.
I have to tip my hat off to Bus and Mitch for going forward with this. It's a matter of us just gelling now.
Welcome to Game 1 of the 2009 NBA Finals. He's got that look. He's got that game.
Basketball immortality for the 09 Los Angeles Lakers.
For us, we're the collection of guys that are so young and having gone through what we went through last year, and to actually do it and to see it all happen, it feels like I'm dreaming right now. I can't believe this moment is here.
The 2010 NBA Finals, Lakers and the Celtics. It just sounds right at this time of year. Alley-oop to Bryant. Oh, what a play from Bryant. Bryant on the pull-up, puts it in. The Lakers repeat back-to-back titles. 2010 NBA champions.
We've been downplaying the whole series, the rivalry between us and the Celtics. This one's by far the sweetest because it's against them and because it's the hardest one.
I truly love what I'm doing.
Now Kobe, up high, down hard.
It wasn't until I became older that I realized that I'm actually working hard. This is fun to me.
Bryant again going to work, falls down.
That's the Achilles.
I made a move that I make a million times and just popped.
Sore right shoulder is what the Lakers are calling it.
Felt fine when I went up, didn't feel too good when I came down. I've played with a torn labrum before. I'm not too concerned about it. I don't want to do this anymore. I really feel at peace with it, excited for what's to come, honestly.
Kobe Bryant in his final All-Star game tonight.
It's a thrill for me to be here in this All-Star game, so thank you for voting me in.
The hesitation following jumper around, swirls around.
Get in there, ball. Getting all the rolls today. It was fun. I mean, I had a blast playing with those guys, laughing and joking with them on the bench, and I had a great time. Once I knew for sure this is what I wanted to do, the first road game here in Philadelphia was really just the icing on the cake for me.
A 6'6" guard from Lower Marion High School, Kobe Bryant.
His first shot goes down from straight away three. Ball Kobe goes around. Reverse layup is good. As Kobe says goodbye to his hometown of Philly, the crowd starts to chant.
They got me. I wasn't expecting that. It was emotional, really, really special.
I wanted to be remembered as a player that didn't waste a moment, but did everything he could to try to overachieve. I've just been extremely fortunate to be able to play the game that I love and be in the NBA for more than half my life.
Kobe Bryant, in his own words, the brash bravado, the relentless work ethic, social issues sometimes with friends and teammates, but he was who he was. But with his kids and his family, he was the father that you would want. And for his young daughter, his oldest, Gianna, 13 years old, to also die with him in that helicopter crash today. Again, just so hard for so many people to accept that Kobe Bryant is dead at the age of 41.
There were 8 games in the NBA today. Was there any chance of canceling any of them, postponing any of them in light of all the news? We'll get to that in a second. I know Ramona Shelburne's been working this story. She covered Kobe Bryant's entire career and his post-career. She had a fantastic piece on him when he turned 40 about the next stage of his life and everything that was to come. And she joins us here on SportsCenter. I know the last time we talked, Ramona, you were on your way to the scene. I obviously see the Sheriff's Department sign behind you. What have you gleaned since you've arrived at the scene?
Well, one of the biggest revelations that we heard was that there were actually 9 people on the manifest of the helicopter when it crashed. And the sheriff here said that initially when the helicopter crashed, that firefighters had to hike up a hill because it was kind of a brush, it was a hill behind me, and they had to put out this fire. The fire was burning very hot, and it was very hard to put out because of the presence of magnesium, which when it interacts with water makes it burn even hotter. At the same time, though, paramedics were able to get to where the crash site was and evaluate if there were any survivors. And at that point, they evaluated that there were no survivors of the crash, and the firefighters continued to try to put out the quarter of an acre brush fire that was on the hillside. Now, I actually visited the crash site earlier, and I can tell you it was very foggy there. There will be an investigation as to what caused this, but one of the residents who lived across the street in an apartment building said he heard the helicopter going by. It was shortly before 10 a.m., and he didn't think much of it because helicopters do fly through there sometimes. There's a sheriff's station right here. It's not uncommon, but he heard the sound of something falling, and he said something seemed off with the way that helicopter sound. He went outside, he was on the phone, and he saw the crash moments later. And so obviously there's a lot of investigation here to come as to what caused that helicopter to go down. We believe it was on its way to a basketball game where his daughter Gigi was playing in the Mamba Academy, which is just about 15 minutes north of here.
You know, Ramona, all that information that you just said was brought forth by Darrell Osby, the LA County Fire Chief. He was mum on a lot of other factors. We'll wait to see exactly what happens in the days to come. There are 8 games in the NBA today. 2 are well done. The Nuggets and the Rockets are done. 4th quarter for the Raptors and the Spurs. Celtics and Pelicans are on ESPN. A handful of games have just begun as we speak. Was there any talk from the reporting you have and the sources you have because of the outpouring of emotion from NBA players, especially ones that are currently in the league and have to focus, that they may not play games today? Clearly that's not what happened. Was there any discussion?
Yeah, there was, and from my understanding, there were games that were about to tip off right when this news broke and came around. It was shocking for everybody involved and all the rest of the games that were going to be played that day. And there was conversations between the league and each of the teams and the general managers because the players on both sides were shaken. I mean, they were so emotional in what Kobe meant to them. Some of them knew him personally. Some only knew him as Kobe the legend because obviously he retired 4 years ago. But there were discussions about whether or not they could play these games, and that would be obviously an incredibly unprecedented thing. The only other time the NBA has not played a game is when President Kennedy was assassinated many years ago. And so the teams decided to play on. I know there's still an ongoing discussion about what the Lakers and Clippers will do. Their next game is Tuesday at Staples Center. I don't think there's been a decision made on what's going to happen Tuesday, but obviously everybody's hearts are heavy, and especially so with the Lakers organization.
No question. We'll continue to monitor it. Last thing for you, only because I think you're the perfect person to ask this. You're an Angelino by birth. Kobe is an Angelino by heart, I think, after spending more than 20 years there. You covered his career, post-career, as I mentioned. You've been around it from beginning to end. Your thoughts on how you would sum up the legacy of Kobe Bryant and what he meant to basketball?
Well, Kobe over the years is somebody that I covered, but over the, we got to be friends towards the end, and especially so after he retired, we would text each other. When my son was born, he was one of the first people to text me, and always wanted to send videos of our children. And I think, that I just got a call a little while ago from Candace Parker, who plays for the LA Sparks. She came here and she's played her whole entire career here, and she said, when she needed something, she would always text Kobe. She would always ask his advice. Before she went won her first championship with the Sparks, she reached out to Kobe and just needed some inspiration. And I can't tell you how many times over the course of my career, other athletes' careers, especially here in Los Angeles, that you knew Kobe was a text away. And when he knew it was important, he always got back to you, and he always knew what to say. I'll never forget Jeannie Buss telling me when she was at one of her lowest moments, when the team was flailing and her father had just died, the person she called was Kobe. And I think it's just his indomitable will, his ability to compartmentalize and focus on and rise above whatever was in front of him. And so you talk about this Mamba mentality and the legacy that he leaves. That's what he was focused on right now. After we're here and at this press conference now, we're going to drive to the Mamba Academy, because that's what he wanted his legacy to be. He was writing children's books. He was doing podcasts for kids. He wanted children, the next generation, players in this league, to understand what it took to be Kobe Bryant and for that to carry on. That's what he wanted his legacy to be. And now, he did so much since he retired. I kept telling him to slow down. Like, enjoy your retirement, man. Go on a vacation or two. I'm really glad that he produced as much as he did after he retired, because we have that to remember him by.
Yeah, with that indomitable work ethic, I don't think he was going to stop working, even if Ramona had asked him to. This generation loving Kobe Bryant, the next generation will bear the fruits of everything he brought to basketball. That's our Ramona Shelburne on the life of Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant lives in southern Orange County, which is about halfway between downtown LA and San Diego. The Farmers Insurance Open going down at Torrey Pines. There's Tiger Woods getting the news as he walked off to 18th green from his caddy, Joe LaCava, that Tiger had died in that helicopter crash a few hours. During the round, some of the fans were yelling at Tiger to do it from Mamba, but Tiger didn't know exactly what was going on. After his round, he spoke with CBS Sports.
You know, Amanda, I didn't know until Joey just told me coming off 18 green. I didn't really understand why the people in the gallery were saying doing it for Mamba, but now I understand. It's a shocker to everyone, unbelievably sad, and one of the more tragic days that I think, well, for me, it's just, the reality is kind of sitting in, because I was just told probably about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. You've been a Lakers fan your entire life. I know what Kobe meant to you. Joe LaCava says that you guys talk about him a lot on the golf course. What will you remember most about him as a player, but most importantly as a man and father?
The fire. He burned so competitively hot, and the desire to win. He brought it each and every night on both ends of the floor. I mean, not too many guys can say that throughout NBA history, that he'd lock up on D. Obviously, he was dominant on the offensive side, but anytime he was in the game, he'd take on their best player and just shut him down for all 48 minutes. And that was one of the more impressive things, I think, throughout this entire career. And then, when he ruptured his Achilles and went to the foul line and made his shots, I mean, that's tough.
I know this wasn't easy for you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Amanda.
Tiger Woods, a frequent visitor to Staples Center to go see Laker games. He grew up there in the LA area. Clearly, he was impacted by the life of Kobe Bryant, the career of Kobe Bryant, Zubin. And, it's interesting how you see the greats of their craft often inspired by the other greats of their respective crafts.
Yeah, real quick, I would just tell you, for all of the people that are standing outside the Staples Center now, imagine what it's going to be like Tuesday night when 20,000 are inside when the Lakers play their next game against the Clippers. And I know, Mike, your next guest is going to be talking about greatness, because he spent a lot of time around LeBron James, a lot of time around the league, especially when Kobe Bryant was doing Kobe Bryant things. Yeah,
David Fizdale joins us here now in our continuing coverage on SportsCenter. Fizz, look, you've been courtside for so many of those matchups against Kobe Bryant, either as assistant coach or just a fan sometimes watching Kobe play during the playoffs and stuff. How do you put into perspective what this man was able to accomplish on a basketball court?
You can't. It's stuff that legends are made of. You talk about a kid that came out of high school to a historic organization. He's following in the footsteps of just some of the greatest players that's ever played the game. And he wanted to be the best of all of them. And through his work ethic, through his determination, through his incredible talent, he put himself right up there at the top. And, I was just lucky enough to be a part of some of those games. He kept me up a lot of nights getting prepared on how to just slow him down. And rarely did we ever. And, you know, I know what he meant to Dwayne and LeBron and Chris Bosh, you know, spending time with him at the Olympics, and, you know, the way he mentored those guys and the way he took time out to really try to share, you know, what he knew with other players and to grow them. You know, I know that was invaluable to them, and you know, I can only imagine what they're going through today. The only one I've texted with so far and talked to is Dwayne, but you know, what LeBron must be going through right now after breaking his record and knowing that bond and that friendship that they had, you know, all of our hearts are just broken.
Dave, that's some really good insight, and I wish you could expand a little bit more on that, because, you know, when Dwayne Wade and LeBron were coming up, clearly they looked at Kobe Bryant as an idol or something to aspire to in terms of their career. But once they got in the league, they're also competing against him as well. I remember the Christmas Day game when Shaq had gone to Miami for the first time, and Dwayne Wade was the guy who really closed out that game that Miami won in Shaq's return. But then you brought up the opportunity that they had to share the court together with the Olympic squad. How did they approach Kobe, and what did they glean from him in those moments that impacted their careers from that point going forward?
It's funny, man. You know, you look at these guys as these icons and these great players in their own right, and I can tell you for sure that they all looked up to him. And what does that say about a Kobe Bryant when you have a LeBron James and a Dwayne Wade looking up to you? And what I think he really taught them was, you know, one, don't cheat the game. You know, put in the time to be great. You know, it's just not going to be happening because it's not going to happen just because you show up, and know your history. You know, what people don't really understand about Kobe Bryant and LeBron James and Dwayne Wade is these guys are basketball encyclopedias. They know everything about the game. They pay tribute to the ones that came before them, and Kobe instilled that in them in a lot of ways. And, you know, for him not to be around to be able to share what he knows to the younger generations and to the generations to come, you know, it's just such a huge hole that's left in the game of basketball and left in all of us, you know, especially us people from Los Angeles, what he meant to our city, and you know, the Lakers are the heartbeat of LA, and if the Lakers are the heartbeat of LA, then Kobe Bryant was the blood running through it. And you know, you can go outside the studio right now. I had to film it because it makes sense, because that's what LA folks do. They came out, and they're not, you know, it's very somber outside. You know, it's not a lot of noise. It's just an eerie day. We woke up this morning, my wife opened the curtain at, you know, 7:30 this morning. She goes, God, it's gray outside. And the sun hasn't broke. You know, it's like LA is crying, and we're all sad and heartbroken over it.
Fizz, you and I are about the same age, and Magic Johnson made me a Lakers fan when I was a kid. But I grew up in a small town in Kentucky. I didn't understand what L.A. meant. But I moved to L.A. when I was about 30 years old. It was the season after they just won 3 titles in a row. And it was in that moment that I fully understood what the Lakers meant to that town, and also what Kobe and Shaq meant. And then Kobe in particular. You grew up in L.A. You played high school hoops there in L.A. You know what it's like. I've got countless texts on my phone right now from my friends in LA talking about how they are hurting on this news right now in Los Angeles. For people who are not from there, give them a deeper perspective on why this hurts so much.
Because the Lakers are family to the city. You know, that's just what it is. And it's no knock on the Clippers. You know, Doc Rivers and those guys, I love those guys. But this right now is about the history of our city. And the Lakers are LA. And we really looked at the Laker players and staff as our own family. And even when we didn't know them as kids, we acted like we knew them. Because they would drive through our neighborhoods. You would see a guy passing by and honking at you, or, you know, catch a guy at a gas station or something like that. And so, you know, like I said on the jump just a few minutes ago, you know, growing up with Magic Johnson and Kareem and Worthy and Bob McAdoo and all of these great Laker players when I was a kid, and watching them on the floats and the parades, you thought there would never be another Showtime. There would never be another Magic Johnson type player that would come here and you know, just take the city by swarm. And here this kid comes, 18 years old, Kobe Bryant. You know, we get this guy and everybody is just like, who is this kid? He speaks 2 languages. He's, you know, like, it was just a surreal moment when he came. And then every moment after that in his career, it was like you could say, I know where I was at. I knew where I was at when he played against Jordan for the first time. I remember that vividly, you know, when he went on that streak of 9 straight games of 40+. You know, I remember debating with my college team. I was coaching at Fresno State and having these debates about him and Jordan and talking about that. And then when he scored 81 against Toronto, like, you knew all of this stuff. And it's like, you know, we grew with him as well as a man. Like, you watched him go from this teenage boy and turn into this incredible man who was a philanthropist and who gave back to his community. And, you know, I mean, the guy, he won an Academy Award, for crying out loud. I mean, this guy was the epitome of excellence. But he had to go through his steps and his bumps and his bruises as well. And, you know, to see it end so tragically with his daughter, who I know just watching her, you know, take the torch of playing hoop, and, you know, for her to be lost in this as well, you know, it's just really sad for Vanessa and the family. And like I said, all of us in Los Angeles, it's like we lost our brother, our son, you know. Some kids, you know, their dad, like Kobe Bryant was that figure for people in Los Angeles.
All right, Fizz, let's get real on one aspect about Kobe here. At the height of his career, at his absolute peak, there are a lot of dudes that didn't like Kobe Bryant, especially if you had to guard him, you had to play on the other team. Like, he didn't have a lot of close personal friends among teammates, sometimes with the Lakers, let alone other players on other teams. But at the tail end of his career, as he evolved from a maturity standpoint as a man, you start to see him create more of those relationships with guys around the league. And so by the time that he retired, it was like a farewell tour, and guys were giving him the respect and praise that he deserved. How would you describe that evolution of Kobe Bryant towards the later years of his career?
Well, because, you know, when he was in the middle of it all, Kobe was a throwback. You know, when the throwback guys, there weren't no friends. You know, you didn't dap guys up. You didn't talk to them before the game. I remember, you know, going to Miami, it was like a rule. Like, you didn't hang out with the opposing team the night before. You didn't shake hands. You didn't pick them up off the floor. That was where Kobe was built like that. And so throughout his pursuit of greatness and to be this champion, to be the best player on the planet, because that's all he was going after. He wanted to be the greatest player to ever play the game. And the way he went about it and to chase that kind of dream, you can't have a lot of buddies. And so, you know, that was in the prime of his career. But I think, you know, through the Olympics and things like that, what he started to find out was that even though he didn't have these big-time relationships with guys, these guys still looked up to him. And they respected him in a way like no other, because no one worked harder than him. I mean, his workouts are workouts of legend. You know, he was, you know, before the sun came up, he was in the gym. After games, he stayed in the gym. And he was the one that kind of instilled that in all of these other guys. And I think on the tail end of his career, he started to realize his new role in the NBA wasn't as much about chasing being the greatest player no more, but it was about passing it on and paying it forward to the next generation of guys. And, you know, he passed it on to some pretty great ones, and I know those guys are going to make sure that they live up to his name.
Yeah, it was all about winning for Kobe Bryant, not necessarily making friends, but ultimately game recognized game, and that's why he got all the respect that he deserved when his career was over, and even in the final days of his life. David Fizdale joining us here on SportsCenter. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me.
Some great commentary. You can see Vince Carter, a true contemporary for a guy that's played in 4 different decades. A lot of young guys. Look at Trae Young donning the number 8, which Kobe made so iconic. And you think about it, what are they going to do here? Wearing number 8. They're going to take an 8-second violation here. There are 8 games in the NBA, and obviously this is being felt around the world with the groundswell being in the NBA itself. So they take the 8-second violation in their game against the Washington Wizards earlier today. A nice gesture. The Wizards took a 24-second violation on their first possession, Kobe's other number, to be remembered in an iconic fashion. And on ESPN here, between the Pelicans and the Celtics, you wait to see, for this, the 24-second violation of their own. Just Lonzo Ball with the basketball in his hands, letting it drip down, taking it to zeros in homage to Kobe. Nearly 14 years ago to the day, almost to the day, Michael, Kobe scored 81 points in an NBA game. Reliving that moment right now, one of Kobe's great moments in his NBA career.
January 22nd, 2006, the NBA world almost, nearly saw history. And that's Wilt Chamberlain's record was challenged by Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba.
Yeah, the whole night just kind of felt like a blur. You know what I mean? It just kind of felt like it was just in a, like almost like a trance almost. And not really understanding or being able to grasp what happened. It's a very bizarre feeling.
We figured if we stopped Kobe and make him shoot jump shots early, that we'll have a better chance of winning, because we didn't believe no one else on the team was going to be that effective. So we went into a soft zone.
Kobe Bryant scored 26 in the first half. It wasn't necessarily alarming for our coaching staff and our team because it was a close game, and we were actually ahead for parts of the game. It was the second half, when he put up a double nickel, is when things got crazy.
Well, Kobe's got his stroke. See if he can add to it. Yes, he does. You talked about him being in one of those zones. Yeah. He's definitely in it right now. Here's Kobe again. Yes, sir.
Morris Peterson, he was the main culprit in the beginning. He was known as a very good defensive player, but because of the foul trouble, we had to put Jalen on him. Jalen wasn't really known for a defensive stopper, but because of his height and his length, we felt like, Jalen would do a pretty good job against him.
It was a rotisserie. It was a buffet of guys that were on Kobe Bryant, but it didn't matter.
That was the first time that I played against him as a rookie, and it was an eye-opener. I consider that game my initiation into the NBA as a rookie.
My opinion, and I said it multiple times during that game, how about we consider double teaming him? As a matter of fact, triple teaming him.
The real question is why you're looking for double teams. That's like playing defense, waving a white flag.
He never said a word. He never pointed and said, it's all about me. Never talked trash.
That was the worst defensive sequence the Raptors have played tonight.
Somebody should have knocked him on the ground maybe once or twice, just to make a point saying, it's not going to be this easy.
For three again, yes! 70 points for Kobe. Kobe's got the Laker record. History tonight at Staples Center.
It was like a video game. If you're out there playing NBA or 2K, those kind of numbers are played on video games, and that's exactly what it seemed like.
And an 81-point game, 55 in the second half.
Once a great player gets going, there's no stopping all-time greatness. Kobe put the smack down to the tune of 81 big points on that given evening.
Listen to this crowd for number 8, Kobe Bryant.
I was there. I was at that game that night.
What was it like? Just take me inside the emotions.
If you remember from that season, Kobe scored his highest scoring average in the history in his career.
Oh, that season?
That season. Okay. There was a game earlier, about a month prior to that, at Staples Center against the Mavericks. Okay. Kobe scored 62 points by the end of the third quarter. The Mavs only had 60. He had 62, the Mavs had 60, and Phil Jackson did not put him back into the game. Oh. He didn't play the fourth quarter. He stopped at 62. So that season, Kobe was going off for these, wild scoring games. It felt like nightly, right? And I remember that game. He only had like 20-something at half, and I was working. I did the halftime show, and then I went and met one of my friends at the start of the third quarter just to, catch up, whatever. Sure. And all of a sudden, you just hear more and more cheering from Staples Center. I'm on the concourse, so I look inside. I was like, yo, I got to go. So we go back to the studio, and then it just starts erupting. Right. Well, Kobe scored 55 points, I believe, in the second half to have 81 on that night, and it was one of the more amazing performances I've ever witnessed in person. I've been fortunate to see some really cool stuff in my career, but to be in the house when Kobe dropped 81, the second highest total in NBA history, Zubin, it's hard to put into words what it was like watching it, whether you were a fan or not, just to be in the presence of greatness in that moment was phenomenal.
January 22nd, 2006, was the date. And got to mention, this is a guy that scored 60 points in his final NBA game, and that was only the second best performance he had from an individual perspective, if you think about it. There are thousands upon thousands of people that had gathered outside the Staples Center to pay their respects to Kobe Bryant. Michael and I have been on the air for about 4 hours, and we saw the crowd when it was small, then it got into the hundreds, and now it is morphed into the thousands. A quick reminder, the Grammys are tonight at that very building, the Staples Center. The Lakers will be back in action right inside against the Clippers on Tuesday evening.
And again, the helicopter crash occurred about 9:52 local time there in Los Angeles in the Calabasas area, which is about half hour, 45 minutes northwest of Los Angeles. We had the local officials of the fire department, the police, give us a update on the information earlier. Here is Jennifer Hamidi from the National Transportation Safety Board with more information on what happened with that helicopter crash.
The NTSB is launching a GO team to investigate an accident involving a Sikorsky 76B as in Bravo helicopter, which crashed around 9:47 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in Calabasas, California. On behalf of the NTSB, I'd like to extend our deepest sympathies to those who lost loved ones in this tragic event. In total, we'll have a team of 18 who will be investigating the accident with expertise in operations, human performance, airworthiness, structures, and power plants. And we already have a staff person from the regional office on site. We will also have 2 staff members from our family assistance team who will be working with the families and other loved ones to help them get their resources that they need over the next couple of days and months. We are leaving in a few minutes. I expect we'll arrive late tonight. We're likely to have a media briefing sometime tomorrow. Please monitor our Twitter, which is NTSB_newsroom, for those announcements. I have time for a couple of quick questions. If you'll raise your hand, state your name and your affiliation. The question is, what types of things will we be looking for? Our team will be looking at the history of the pilot and whatever crew was on board. We'll be looking at maintenance records of the helicopter. We will be looking at records of the owner and operator of the helicopter, and a number of other things that we look at as part of the investigation. That's hard to tell. The question is how late will we be getting to work? We do have somebody who's on scene or en route from our Western Region office, and so when we get on scene, we'll have to assess what we're able to do at that time.
Fan affidavit Fox 5. Media on the ground is reporting 9 people were killed in that crash. Does Sikorsky typically carry 9 people? Is it a helicopter that can be capable of carrying that many people?
The question is how many people can be carried in the Sikorsky 76B. We are trying to figure out what the configuration of that helicopter is. It really just depends on the configuration. So that's something we're still trying to verify. One more question. Is it typical to send 18? And I should clarify, it's not a total of 18 investigators. That includes our investigative staff. There's the investigative staff, there's the board members, there are a couple from media relations, there's our family assistance team, and I think that covers it. But it's typical for any of our investigations. This does not change anything. This is just how we would respond to any investigation. Does this type of helicopter typically have a black box? Does this type of helicopter have a black box? That's something we'll have to look to as part of the investigation. We're still on our way there. So thank you very much.
Here's a look at Manhattan in New York. The famed Madison Square Garden lit up in Laker colors tonight. There's a look inside. Of course, the Lakers played the Knicks last Wednesday, showing respect to Kobe Bryant, 41 years old. He had some memorable games there in New York. He only went there once a year to play the Knicks, but when he did, he typically put on a pretty good show for some of the best basketball fans in the world. 8/24, his 2 jersey numbers.
Take a look at the approximate site of the crash. 9:52 a.m., as Michael said, local time. Foggy conditions were in the area. As you just heard from the NTSB, they're waiting to hear more. When the helicopter crashed, it ignited a brush fire, and that made it very difficult for emergency personnel to get to the scene. Obviously, we will learn here more in the many hours and days to come. A tragedy, the loss of Kobe Bryant. They did mention his daughter, Gianna. I just want to mention his oldest daughter, Natalia, was 17. Bianca was 3. And his youngest, Capri, is 7 months old. We're joined by Richard Jefferson. He's an ESPN NBA analyst. Richard, we've asked the same thing to every person, so I'm going to ask you this first. What's your reaction?
It was devastating. I just celebrated, my 3-year-old and 5-year-old have back-to-back birthdays yesterday and the day before. And, I'm sitting there with them, and all of a sudden this news comes in, and you don't believe it. It doesn't make any sense. And, there's really just no words. I tried to figure out what to say, and, the best thing that I can think of is, when you find out that Whitney Houston passed, or Michael Jackson passed, or Prince passes. Those are things that just catches the entire world off guard. This man is not just a basketball icon. I think we're limiting him. This man was a global icon. People all around the world are mourning. He helped spread the game of basketball. His daughter Gianna, who, he said helped bring him back to basketball because he felt like he had exhausted everything he could. And his daughter, Gianna, was the first one to say, hey, Dad, let's watch this game. Hey, Dad, I want you to have me coach. So to be there with my kids and then to see, this news, it was devastating.
Hey, Richard, I want to ask you about something that's been making the waves today. It's something that Kobe's always kind of identified with, but it's really working its way into the ether today, and that is the Mamba mentality. And, just as a basketball fan, I just thought it was a way of life for him on the court, but apparently it stretches way beyond that. As a former pro, a contemporary, can you take us inside the Mamba mentality from what you knew of Kobe Bryant?
Well, I'll say this. The first NBA Finals game I ever went to, it was to watch the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Pacers. The first NBA Finals game I ever played in was against the Lakers my rookie year. And, when I played in Golden State, that's when Kobe hurt his Achilles. So it's like I felt like I had, been there or played against them in so many different moments. And, he was just perfection. He had all of the physical tools. He had all of the mental tools. He had all of the, just the emotional awareness that it took. And people don't understand how hard it is to achieve greatness. They don't understand how selfish you have to be to achieve greatness. And that means that there was nobody and there was nothing that was going to stop him from achieving his goals. And that's to be one of the greatest athletes that, this country has ever seen, probably this world has ever seen. And, that's what he just tried to embody into everybody once he retired. And it was funny, once he retired, he kind of became a friend of everyone. And everyone was kind of cautious, like, wait, this is a new Kobe Bryant. But he was like, yo, my competitive juices are still here, but I don't have to keep everybody at bay. I can now help grow the game that has done so much for me. I can help mentor younger players. Kyrie is not playing tonight because, he had meant so much to Kyrie and really had just, expressed, a brotherhood and a family with all of these players and the generation that before him, the generation that he played with, and his legacy will continue. It will continue because there are so many athletes that are 15, 16, that, probably 10, 11 years old that understand the Mamba mentality. They watched him play growing up. And now all of a sudden that mentality will continue to have impact on this league and other sports for years to come.
Last one, you said his legacy will live on. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you what that legacy is to you.
To me, it was, he could accomplish and could do things and could focus in that not many players ever did. That was a level of respect that I had for him, because growing up being a Michael Jordan fan, as was he, it was like, God, I wish I could have that focus. I wish I could have that relentless drive. But very, very few people ever achieve that, where they have all the physical tools and all the mental drive and physical drive. There's the Tiger Woods, the Michael Jordans, the Roger Federers. There are very, very few that have ever achieved that on this planet, that have the tools mentally and physically, and that's his legacy to me.
Last thing for you. Why do you think he connected so much? As you mentioned, when he was playing, he may not have had a lot of friends on the court, but as David Fisdale joined us earlier, that's probably part of his greatness. He had to push everything out just to make sure that the priority was set to be the best that he could be, and his ceiling was incredibly high. Why do you think he's connected, though, with players that are in the league now that never played with him, with younger people that are just getting into basketball, and people outside of basketball, as Michael mentioned, in Hollywood, pop culture? Why do you think he was so all-encompassing?
Well, because he was a kid that came in at 17, 18 years old, and he knew what he wanted to accomplish. Somebody was saying, we were talking here, and it was like, man, we're not going to get a Hall of Fame speech from Kobe Bryant. And I was like, Kobe Bryant might have wrote that speech when he was 9 years old, right? We might still have that speech. That's the type of person, that's the type of focus he had. And I think the younger generation, no different than when we looked up to Michael Jordan, the younger generation, even my generation, looked up to Kobe Bryant. And once he was that competitor, they wanted to compete like him. They wanted to have the versatility in the game. And he also did it here in LA. This is the biggest stage. Like, he continued Showtime. Right, him and Shaquille O'Neal and what he was able to accomplish after Shaquille O'Neal left. This was all about, LA and doing it under the brightest lights with all of the people around watching you, and you did not let anyone down for 20 years, even when you look at his final game and how he finished his career.
It's well said. The numbers just don't do it justice, but the numbers are truly remarkable. 5 NBA titles, 18 All-Star appearances. A father, probably more important, a father than all of those NBA accolades, and we appreciate this new father, Richard Jefferson, joining us on SportsCenter this evening. Richard, really appreciate your perspective.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you.
All right, Zubin, continue to share some of the reaction in and around basketball on the death of Kobe Bryant, the Hall of Famer, Michael Jordan, the guy that Kobe wanted to be or maybe even surpass in terms of basketball accolades. He said the following, quote, "I'm in shock over the tragic news of Kobe and Gianna's passing. Words can't describe the pain I'm feeling. I loved Kobe. He was like a little brother to me. We used to talk often, and I will miss those conversations very much. The NBA family is devastated by the tragic passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna. For 20 seasons, he showed us what is possible when remarkable talent blends with an absolute devotion to winning." Yvette, his wife, joins me in sending my deepest condolences to Vanessa, the Lakers organization, and basketball fans around the world.
Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, weighing in himself. The NBA family is devastated by the tragic passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna. For 20 seasons, Kobe showed us what is possible when remarkable talent blends with an absolute devotion to winning. That sounds just like Jordan's statement, doesn't it? How about that? He was one of the most extraordinary players in the history of our game, with accomplishments that are legendary: 5 NBA championships, an NBA MVP award, 18 NBA All-Star selections, and 2 Olympic gold medals. But he will be remembered most for inspiring people around the world to pick up a basketball and compete to the very best of their ability. He was generous with the wisdom he acquired, and he saw it as a mission to share it with future generations. Silver went on to say of players, taking special delight in passing down his love of the game to Gianna. We send our heartfelt condolences to his wife, Vanessa, and their family, the Lakers organization, and the entire sports world.
Again, Kobe Bryant, 41 years old, one of 9 people on that helicopter that crashed this morning outside of Los Angeles, including his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, who was just beginning her young basketball career, and they were on their way to a game in which she was about to play. Kobe's been so involved in her development and taking her around the country to see various games, NBA, WNBA, women's college basketball as well. Kobe and his daughter, again, crashed in a helicopter early this morning in Los Angeles, among 9 people dead. When Kobe played his last game Zubin, it was also the same night that the Golden State Warriors were going for a record 73 wins.
That's right.
And the very last night of the NBA season back in 2016, April 13th, and Michael Wilbon, who joined us earlier, talked about which one would you want to see? Did you want to see 73 or did you want to see Kobe's last game? And I watched both because I have multiple TVs in my basement. But on that night, Kobe went out with 60 points. He dropped the microphone, Mamba out, what everyone remembers. He will not get to give the Hall of Fame speech that he deserved, but he did give the speech when he left the game.
Man, guys, you know, it's, I can't believe how fast 20 years went by. I mean, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And, you know, to be standing here at center court with you guys, my teammates behind me, and appreciating all this, you know, the journey that we've been on. You know, we've been through our ups and been through our downs. And I think the most important part is that we all stayed together throughout. You know, I grew up a diehard Laker fan. Diehard. I mean, I knew everything about every player that's ever played here. So to be drafted and then traded to this organization and to spend 20 years here, I mean, you can't write something better than this. And I'm more proud of the fact that not about the championships, but about the down years, because we didn't run. We didn't run. We played through all that stuff, and we got our championships, and we did it the right way. And all I can do here is just thank you guys. Thank you guys for all the years of support. Thank you guys for all the motivation. Thank you for all the inspiration. And, you know, what's funny, the thing that had me cracking up all night long was the fact that I go through 20 years of everybody screaming to pass the ball. And on the last night, they're like, don't pass it. This has been absolutely beautiful, you guys. I can't believe it's come to an end. You guys will always be in my heart, and I sincerely appreciate it. No words can describe how I feel about you guys. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. God, I love you guys, and I love you guys. And to my family, my wife Vanessa, our daughters Natalia and Gianna, you know, thank you guys for all your sacrifice. You know, for all the hours I spent in the gym working and training. And Vanessa, you holding down the family the way that you have. I can't, there's no way that I can thank you enough for that. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And what can I say? Mamba out.
So fitting that Kobe would go out that way with his basketball career. Because people ask, are you going to write something? He's like, no, raw, unscripted, true to who he is in that moment. And that's why so many people have just looked up to him in ways that's hard to describe if you're not from the Los Angeles area specifically. Sure, we all have our basketball or sports icons, I should say, and Kobe Bryant clearly is one of those people. But as you can see here from these visuals that are popped up outside Staples Center, he meant much more than that, something deeper than that. And even back at his high school outside of Philadelphia, Zubin, Lower Merion. Lower Merion High School, Ardmore, Pennsylvania, where his coach saw him as a freshman and within 5 minutes said, kid, you're headed to the NBA. He was right. One thing I want to mention, because Kobe is an international person, Italy was so much part of his history. Roughly 1 out of 4 players in the NBA today, roughly 1 out of every 4 guys, was born outside of the United States, and part of their love for the game came from watching Kobe Bryant. An international superstar is what his career became, what he did in the NBA, traveling globally with the Olympics and spending a lot of time in China as well. That is why, as Zubin said, so many people around the world are still to feel the grief of Kobe Bryant, dead at the age of 41.
This outpost is in danger from the First Order. Thank you for joining the cause, and may the Force be with us.
You ready?
Are you?
Tired of redness, burning and sore skin from shaving? Introducing the new Gillette Skin Guard. The revolutionary technology takes pressure off the blades to help stop skin irritation. Gillette Skin Guard.
Mr. Jewell, I've got a few questions.
I was just doing my job.
So you have no idea who might have put that package there?
No, sir.
Did you plant a bomb in Centennial Park?
Richard, this is capital crime here.
My son is innocent.
Do you have any case against me?
I report the facts.
You've ruined this man's life. I didn't do this.
Installation's simple. You just plug in.
And play.
Be your own man. Don't settle. If you're not ready for grey, brush it away with Just for Men Moustache and Beard. Eliminates grey in 5 minutes for natural looking results. Just for Men. Be the better man you are and look the part.
Introducing Macca's delicious new McVeggie burgers with a crunchy potato, cheese and veggie patty, fresh lettuce, creamy mayo and our famous pickles. Now there truly is something for everyone.
Celebrate summer with Tab's same-game multi, now available on the Big Bash. Combine all your favourite markers into the one bet to create a better price. Tab's same-game multi, available all summer long.
Gamble responsibly.
Australia, are you ready?
Are you ready for halftime?
Are you ready for the expert analysis? Are you ready to party in Miami? Join us on ESPN for Super Bowl Monday.
This is that moment that makes the X Games the X Games.
That is a gamer.
Holy Santa Claus! Have you ever seen a run like that? That was insane!
X Games Aspen. Today on ESPN and the ESPN app.
Lunchtime is prime time this Friday on ESPN. So we've gone and ordered up a double heap of good old NBA action. First up, Kemba Walker is knocking on the MVP door, and he leads the Celtics at home to take on the Warriors. Then, the Jazz look to play some sweet music when they face the Nuggets in a Western Conference showdown.
Right down the middle by Malik Beasley.
Lunchtime is prime time, Friday on ESPN.
SportsCenter breaking news coverage continues. Kobe Bryant, one of 9 people killed in a helicopter crash earlier this morning in Los Angeles. His 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, also on board that crash in the Calabasas area of Los Angeles, about a half hour, 45 minutes northwest of the city. He was on his way to a youth basketball game featuring his daughter, Gianna. And as you can see from the scene there outside Staples Center, several people have swarmed to downtown Los Angeles to pay their respects. Zubin Mehenti, Michael Eaves here with you as we continue our coverage on the death of Kobe Bryant.
Outpouring of support coming far beyond the NBA, encapsulating just how big of a figure Kobe Bryant was. One of the best players in women's college basketball, Sabrina Ionescu at the University of Oregon. She was getting ready for a big game today on ESPN2 against her arch rival, Oregon State. But none of that really mattered. She's trying to win a national championship and go to a Final Four. But on this particular day, she was thinking of Kobe Bryant. You can tell how emotional she was before the game. 24, forever. Here she is.
And of course, the world lost a legend, and you, of course, a very close friend in Kobe Bryant today. Can you talk about the emotions that you felt finding out just before the game and coming out here to finish?
I mean, everything I do it for him, obviously. Really close friend, and this season's for him.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you.
Okay, so that was Sabrina Ionescu with our Brooke Weisbrod. You could sense the amount of emotion. And Mike, I would imagine anybody that we check in on from the next days, hours, weeks to come, you're going to see some emotion.
Absolutely, especially those around the NBA that had personal connections with Kobe Bryant, either as a teammate or some other aspect of the game off the court, and that would include Austin Rivers. We saw his father, Doc Rivers, earlier, clearly emotional as he was addressing the media before the Clippers game against the Magic, and Austin Rivers sharing so much of the same feelings and sentiments of other players around the league.
Such a great loss, you know. He's one of the greatest players to ever play the game, but more importantly, just for what he's meant for the youth of basketball and sports. I got to be honest, I'm a competitor, and obviously we cared about losing tonight, but I got to be honest with you, it wasn't on my mind when we lost, us losing the game. You go back to reality, and the facts are we lost somebody that meant so much to all of us. And then you hear about his daughter. As a father, I've said many prayers for that family, and I'm going to continue to do so. It looked like he was the happiest he's ever been after basketball. Him and Gigi's relationship was, I mean, everybody saw it. That's all he posted about. And this was tough. I don't know how we played today. I would start thinking about the game, and then it would just snap back into my mind. We have to play tomorrow, and I'm sure Utah will do a tribute, and this pain's not going to go away anytime soon. You don't even have to be a basketball fan to feel this. One of the most competitive athletes, iconic athletes. And honestly, to be completely honest, more so as a father, what he's meant to that family. I'm going to pray for Vanessa and the kids. And may he rest in peace, man. This was tough.
During Kobe's 20 years in the NBA, he scored 33,643 points, fourth most in history after LeBron James passed him last night. He won 5 NBA championships. He was twice the Finals MVP, and he was also the league MVP back in 2008. And there's the scene, LA Live across the street from Staples Center tonight, which is hosting the Grammys, but still thousands of Laker fans and other Angelinos have come down to downtown to pay their respects for Kobe Bryant, who passed away earlier today in a helicopter crash outside of Los Angeles.
And on Tuesday, the Lakers will be inside the Staples Center to take on the Los Angeles Clippers, and you can only imagine the amount of emotion that's going to be coursing through that building. And maybe about 48 hours from now, Michael Wilbon joins us for a little bit of perspective. I know, Michael, you joined us a little bit earlier in our coverage, but since then, I know you talked to a lot of people around the league, and you just had an opportunity to let this marinate and digest. What are your thoughts right now?
Well, they're not much different than they were a couple of hours earlier, to tell you the truth. And Austin Rivers very eloquently expressed thoughts that a lot of us are feeling. I don't know that the thoughts are going to have that much in the way of range to them. It's something that we're not going to get over anytime soon. Austin said you don't have to be a basketball fan. You don't have to have been around the industry for years like some of us, like I have, to feel the hurt. I mean, maybe people who have certainly gotten to know him and been around him, and I was for half his life. It's hard to imagine, but remember, he was an 18-year-old in the NBA, and so that's 23 years as a grown man. And my thoughts initially aren't of basketball; they are certainly of his family and his wife and daughters, with losing a daughter as a parent. That's just so difficult to even wrap your head around. And so there's that. There are other moments and other things that come to me much more quickly. Some of them are very personal because I have been covering the league for so long, all of Kobe Bryant's career, all of it. And one of them has to do with my own life. 12 years ago, I had a event, as they say, medically, a heart attack, and I get home from the hospital without having talked to really anybody, and there's an enormous vase of flowers at the front desk. I'm sorry, at the front desk at my home, at the front door, and they said, the note said, from Kobe Bryant. And I called the Lakers and I said, this is a joke, right? This is not from, this is somebody else. This is not from Kobe. And John Black, for so long, the director of communications with the Lakers, said, oh no, he called me to get your address, so I know it's not a joke. And at the time, Kobe's daughter was 2 years old. My son was yet to be born, and I got a lecture, a stern one, with certain words in it from Kobe about the things I better do to start taking care of my health. And we talked about children and families. And a good amount of the time that I covered the NBA and would interact with Kobe Bryant, the conversation was not necessarily about basketball. It was very early on. He knew that I had covered Michael Jordan's career a lot, most of it. And we would talk about that because that was always just sort of pushed in front of him. And Kobe was so curious about that. But as he got older, he expressed curiosity in so many other ways. I mentioned earlier how, it's just his intellect, I don't want people to overlook. Yeah, you can talk about 81 points, you can talk about 5 championships, you can talk about MVPs, you can talk about all of that stuff, and it's all pertinent to some degree, but not as much as sort of the person. There was a time, I guess, late, maybe the last week of his career, and the Lakers were not going to go to the postseason. The team was falling on hard basketball times, perhaps. And Kobe had to do a lot of news conferences. He had to do a lot of goodbyes. I certainly sat with him, and we had an interview. But I knew he knew so much about language and languages. And I said to him, how many languages do you really speak? You don't let us in on stuff like that. And he said 2. English and Italian. And everybody knew about those 2. And he said, that's it. And I'm like, I don't believe you. There's more language in you. I don't believe this. And about an hour or so later, maybe, we're doing an interview. He's in the Staples Center, and there was no translator. And someone started to speak to him in Spanish. And he looked for a translator, no one was there. And he just said, oh, what the hell, and just did the interview in completely, as far as I could tell, and so were the questioners, perfect Spanish. And he was, he was taking Mandarin lessons, I believe he told me at one point, and this is after retirement. And just the curiosity, the intellect, it went far, far, far beyond basketball. And in the last interview that I did with him, a sit-down interview, and we probably aired 3.5 minutes or so of it on ABC and/or SportsCenter. He talked about what it is that he was interested in, what fascinated him, what consumed him. And it was the art of storytelling, which, of course, somebody who's been a journalist for a hell of a long time is really fascinated by that. And we talked about it on and off camera. We talked about it for months, but that time we talked about it on camera. For a long time, I was one of the probably a few people sort of sworn to secrecy about what he wanted to do and why he wanted to do it, and that was fine. But then he talked about it on camera, and it was fascinating. And I've looked forward to him doing that further in the future. And it's difficult to imagine us without that talent, that curiosity, that intellect, that passion for knowledge and relating it. And there were so many sides to him. And you're going to hear, there are a lot of people better equipped to talk about the basketball part of this. We have a whole range of people at this network who can talk about playing with him and playing against him. And I've watched it all. I loved it all. But those things aren't the first thoughts that I've had today.
Yeah, endless drive on and off the court, as Michael has just chronicled for us, to show you how much time flies. That 2-year-old you were talking about, Natalia is now 17, and his wife Vanessa, his widow, has a 3-year-old in Bianca and a 7th-month-old in Capri. Kobe Bryant, that is her name. I mentioned this at the top here, Michael. Roughly 1 out of every 4 players in the NBA right now was born outside the United States. And if Michael Jordan and his crew in '92 brought the game to the rest of the world, Kobe and LeBron might have accentuated it, taken it to the next level for the rest of the world. With his Italian background and the way you said you covered him, never mind just Kobe Bryant as the player or as the person off the court, but the impact he had around the world is something I think that's coming into focus today. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I was in China this summer, and Kobe is still one of the most revered, if not the most revered, professional athlete. Many trips there that he made. Revered. Remember, we're talking about a development with the Dream Team. Yes, it absolutely sort of crystallized with that in the summer of 1992 in the run-up to that. And that sort of, the craze, the international basketball craze, they precipitated it, ignited it, if you will. And then so Kobe coming along 4 years later certainly became, in a lot of ways, the face of that global popularity of basketball. Not just the NBA, but basketball. And he was proud of that. I mean, that was something that he got a great kick out of for people who thought, oh, he's not going to want to sort of go back, to what we think of as a more youthful time and represent his country in the Olympics. They were wrong. You were looking at pictures now. And he loved it, talked about it, loved the international part of the game, talked about international players. It was great to be in the sort of the mixed zone at the Olympics. And again, hear Kobe communicating in other languages with international athletes in their languages. And you would see it, and they would just be, beside themselves. They could not believe they were having this opportunity in the midst of their international competition to talk to Kobe Bryant in this particular way. And so there's so much of that you don't necessarily see when you just look at him in a Laker uniform. It was part and parcel, and he was certainly proud of wearing that Laker uniform, but there was so much more to him.
It's such a great way you encapsulated that. Many people in the society in which we live, because we're turning over so fast and the news cycle is so quick, somebody that's normally 3-4 years out of the NBA is really not on the front burner. But to Kobe Bryant's legacy and his perspective, he is as big of a force outside of basketball after retiring as he was in his brilliant 20-year career, and gone too soon. Michael, appreciate the perspective.
Thanks for having me.
Zubin, clearly so many people around the league have been affected by this. This was the scene in Atlanta, the Hawks taking on the Wizards. Of course, Vince Carter, a contemporary of Kobe Bryant. There's Trae Young, who spent some time with Kobe Bryant, and this is the opening tip of the game. And you see Trae Young wearing number 8, and they take an 8-second violation to start the game. Of course, Kobe came into the league wearing the number 8. He finished with number 24. And so when the Wizards got the ball, they took a 24-second shot clock violation as well, showing their respect to Kobe Bryant as you get a standing ovation there in Atlanta. The Pelicans and the Celtics, they also had to take the court after learning about the news of Kobe Bryant. You see Lonzo Ball there, who grew up outside of Los Angeles, drafted by the Lakers, played there at UCLA. Clearly, Kobe was someone that he looked up to, and this is how they start the game as well. Taking a 24-second shot clock violation, standing ovation there in New Orleans as, again, the word of Kobe's death starts to spread around the country and people start to absorb what's happening and the emotions come out, and then you want to show respect for what has happened. And then Celtics get the ball. They do the exact same thing. Some very heated games between the Lakers and the Celtics through the years. Of course, even when Kobe was there, 2008, the Celtics won the championship. 2 years later, Kobe came back and won that game. He said, I wanted